560 Radio brings. Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
What if the music stopped? If the familiar voices were silenced? If there were no breaking news updates? What if your companion and connection to your community came with a monthly fee? Don't worry, we're free local radio with you wherever you go, celebrating 100 years and looking forward to the next 100. We are broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and let Congress know you depend on your local TV and radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets. Any size and any color, just $49.98. That's right, you can even get queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings. Any size and any color, just $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, they're gone. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. Call 800-489-0201. Use promo code LIBERTY or go to MyPillow.com. Make sure you use the promo code LIBERTY for the amazing offer of $49.98 on the Giza Dreams sheets, any size and any color. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Your local State Farm agent, Anthony DeGrotto, combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. You can combine your home, auto, and life insurance to not only save you money, but give you the peace of mind you've been looking for. Anthony DeGrotto is your go-to agent in Chicagoland. He and his team will work for you to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Combine your home, auto, and life insurance today. Anthony DeGrotto will help you mix and match things perfectly. His State Farm office is a top pick 2024 Daily Herald Reader's Choice Award winner. He's a proud supporter of Tunnel to Towers and like-minded as you. His State Farm agency is currently looking to add members at their Roselle office. Call Anthony at 847-895-1500 today or visit DeGrottoSF.com. That's DeGrottoSF.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-208-0414. 800-208-0414. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-208-0414, 800-208-0414, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
A world without signs. It's hard to imagine. No directions, no branding or identity for businesses. But over 70 years ago, Rhoda was built and has been helping Chicagoland businesses get noticed on the street, on the job site, and on the move. Family-owned and fiercely focused on quality, Rhoda delivers custom signs, vehicle wraps, wall graphics, and more with fast lead times and real service. From design to print and fabrication to installation, we handle every step so you don't have to. Whether you need a logo on your building, a message on your fleet, or a bold presence at your next event, Rhoda makes it happen. Check out the possibilities at Rhoda.com. That's ROEDA.com to schedule your consult today. Rhoda.com. Rhoda. Signs, print, service. We don't just make signs. We get you recognized.
Spring is here. It's time to get outside and enjoy the beautiful weather in a brand new scooter from Mars Medical in New Lenox. Come see and test drive their full collection of new and used power mobility devices for sale. Mars Medical carries full and travel size scooters from Pride Mobility and Golden Technologies. Inventory is moving out daily, so don't hesitate to pick out your new scooter today. And don't forget, Mars Medical also has lightweight and compact transport wheelchairs available for sale or rental use for those day trips to the zoo or to the park. Some units weigh as little as 19 pounds. Or improve your outdoor activities this spring with a rollator walker. Mars Medical has over 7 models of rollator walkers on the floor for purchase. Make this spring one to remember on the north side of Route 30 between Cedar and Vine Road in New Lenox, or go to marsmedicalsupply.com. Mars Medical, customer care that is out of this world.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Breezy, cool days, some rain and drizzle. High today 53. Off and on rain and drizzle for tonight, low 47. Passing shower tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy, high 57. And then clouds remaining cool on Friday, high Friday at 61. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So here's the latest. These guys, with respect to the big guy and his diagnosis of late-stage prostate cancer, a spokeshuman for the Biden crime family, Chris Meagher, telling reporters yesterday the former president had never been diagnosed with prostate cancer before Friday, and that the last time he was screened for the disease was in 2014.
BS. 24. Okay. All right, go on. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just not, that's a lie. Now they're trying to cover up the cover up, Dan. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, or you could text us on that very same line. Talk to anybody in your family. Your dad, your brothers that are older, they give you a PSA screening at your annual visit.
Well,
it's like they check your enzymes, they check your blood work. It's just.
Here's the thing. I went and looked this up because I don't really pay much attention to this because I really don't care. But the president of the United States, it's a different story, and you have more than a responsibility to yourself, which is why the information from the president's doctor, the annual physical and checkup, is a matter of public record and scrutiny and questioning from the press corps and so on and so forth. It's all very straightforward. Okay, so I went to the CDC. Now, I don't take everything the CDC has to say as gospel, but of course they do.
Right.
So
we're not supposed to kiss our dogs, by the way.
Let's go to the CDC. In 2018, the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force. You remember the USPSTF?
I have a T-shirt, from that year.
This is what they recommended about prostate cancer screening. Men who are 55 to 69 should make individual decisions about being screened for prostate cancer with a prostate-specific antigen, or PSA, for those laymen out there, PSA test. Before deciding, men should talk to their doctor about the benefits and harms of screening for prostate cancer, including the benefits and harms of other tests and treatment. Men who are 70 and older should not be screened for prostate cancer routinely.
Oh.
The recommendation applies to men who are, quote, at an average risk for prostate cancer. What is that? How would you know? Would you have to, I guess, your workup in your profile? Are at an increased risk for prostate cancer, same. Do not have symptoms of prostate cancer, have never been diagnosed with prostate cancer. So, for 11 years ago, that would have put the big guy at about the age of 70. The pros and cons of screening. I feel like this is a bad public service announcement, but because I was like, what is
what's the con?
Right. Yeah, it's like a blood test, or what's the big deal?
You already drew the vial of blood. Just test it.
The possible harm from screening, according to the CDC. This occurs when a man has an abnormal PSA test but does not have prostate cancer. False positive tests often lead to unnecessary tests like a biopsy of the prostate. They may cause men to worry about their health. Older men are likely to have more false positive tests. And then possible harms from diagnosis. Screening finds prostate cancer in some men who had never had symptoms from the cancer in their lifetime. Treatment of men who would not have had symptoms or died from prostate cancer can cause them to have complications from treatment, but not benefit from treatment. This is what we call overdiagnosis. Prostate cancer is diagnosed with a prostate biopsy. A biopsy is when a small piece of tissue is removed from the prostate and looked at under a microscope to see if there are cancer cells. Yes, thank you. A prostate biopsy can cause pain, blood in the semen, and infection. Blood in the Semen, interesting. That was the name of my college band, college
cover
garage
for
band.
What? For who?
Yeah.
Or was it just an 80s cover band where you played the hits?
It was a cover for the Nine Inch Nails.
Oh. Blood in my semen. Okay, I'm going to look that up on YouTube.
So it's, this presents to say, because I just can't wait for the next stage of this explanation to be, if you go to the CDC website, you'll see that that Biden was at the age of 70, and it recommends against screenings for men at the age of 70 or older who have no signs or previously diagnoses as having prostate cancer.
And then Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx are going to come out and say that. The CBS medical director, everybody's a prostate expert now. Are you ready? She said the president didn't get the test to save money.
He's a fiscal hawk.
I mean, if you're going to say, okay, that's an answer. 312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line, and our text line is now open officially.
But the flip side is...
Yeah.
This task force also said in 2018, many men with prostate cancer never experienced symptoms and without screening would never know they have the disease. In autopsy studies of men who died from other causes, more than 20% of men aged 50 to 59, more than a third, 70 to 79, were found to have prostate cancer. But they didn't die from prostate cancer. So, yeah, exactly. He's a real penny pincher. The guy that ran up $9 trillion in additional debt is a real penny pincher.
Yeah. But if caught early, it's curable. I mean, I know a lot of people have had prostate cancer. They caught it in the early stages, and they're fine.
But here's the thing. Here's the reason why this is
not passing the smell test.
More likely a lie than not a lie. Number one, the source, which does not deserve any benefit of the doubt. They lie about everything. Why wouldn't they lie about this? Because lying about this gives them the benefit of, no, it wasn't Craven, and we didn't release this revelation to get people to stop talking about Biden's interview with Robert, don't call me Ben-Hur. No, this is the first time, and he was thinking about the American people by not incurring the expense of a PSA screening. Okay,
Too much money, Dan.
But the other reason is We're not talking about him having prostate cancer. We're talking about him having late-stage prostate cancer metastasized to his bones. And that's a different thing. And one of the ways we know this is from other men who have had this happen to him, including Scott Adams, the Dilbert cartoon creator who we've had on the show many times. He deserves a lot of credit for sort of sussing out Trump's unique communication style and how effective he thought it would be in 2016. We had a lot of great conversations with Scott Adams on this show over the years. But Scott Adams' announcement that he has the same essential situation and diagnosis as President Biden, but listen to him talk about it.
Now, I realize that for some of you, this is hitting you kind of hard because you're hearing it for the first time. Weirdly, since it's old news to me, I've just sort of processed it. So it just sort of is what it is. And I have to say that, everybody has to die, as far as I know. And it's kind of civilized that about how long you have so you can put your affairs together and make sure you've said your goodbyes and done all the things you need to do. So if you had to pick a way to die, this one's really painful, like really, really painful. But it's also kind of good that it gives you enough time while your brain is still working to wrap things up. You might wonder why it took me so long to tell you, and I think I owe you an answer to that. Number one, it would change my life because everybody would start treating me like the cancer guy. You can't really there's no second way that goes. Once you go public, you're just the dying cancer guy. And I didn't want you to have to think about it, and I didn't want to have to think about it. You should know, well, if you didn't already know, I am unusually mentally tough. So while this could be much worse, for some people, I suppose, I'm handling it quite well. The pain is tough. I mean, really tough. But the mental part, I got that under control. And I can see in the comments that some of you are having a tough time with it. But remember, nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever.
Very stoic, Scott Adams. Obviously, it's terrible that he has this diagnosis. He's got a lot to contribute. And
I love his courage in facing his own mortality.
But listen to what he's talking about, the prostate cancer that spread to his bones, just like Biden. He's talking about the incredible pain that he's enduring. It's more likely than not that Biden has been enduring a lot of pain too. And once you started feeling that kind of pain, do you think that your team of doctors would have been noticed up and would have investigated and discovered? The idea that it just happened last weekend is implausible, to be very generous, implausible. Richard in Indiana Head Park.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. My doctor still, when he takes a blood test, he still looks at my PSA level, and I'm over 70 years old. And he's been doing this for the last 5 years, I would think, or longer. And I don't understand why they wouldn't look into his PSA level, because all it is the blood test. All they'd have to do is look into it, and they would find out if there was any problems. So why wouldn't his doctors just do that? He's the president of the United States.
Exactly.
And if they found out that he did have high levels of PSA, they, like you said earlier, they could do a biopsy, or they could, there's other tests that they can do. Well, when I went through the test, I had the normal test, the physical test by the urologist, and he found no lumps or any disfigurement of my prostate. But then he said, well, we don't know for sure, so you should get a biopsy. Well, a biopsy could cause it could cause infections and stuff. So I said no. I said, why can't we just wait another few months, take another blood test, and see if the level has gone up or down? And in the meantime, I had an MRI, which showed that there was inconclusive, that they couldn't find anything wrong, and so that's where we've been now. So now I'm just waiting for the urologist to call me to go back for a blood test because my level was a little high.
Well, I'm glad you're doing okay.
Thanks for the call, Rich. Well, you're exactly right. I mean, we're not talking about, with all due respect, Rich from Indiana Park. He's making the same point. We're talking about the President of the United States, who also, by the way, 4 years ago, 4 years ago was running for president. Then he was president. Now in 2024, he is running for president again. No, look at this. And if the only concern is overdiagnosis and some of the marginal concerns about biopsy, if there was the potential need or option for a biopsy, he has the best doctors in the world. These will be fully vetted 7 ways from Sunday. I mean, it is absurd, the idea that any medical professional in that role as the president's doctor wouldn't run all of the traps and then some. It just is not believable.
Yeah.
Coming up at 5:38, we'll take more of your calls on this, and we'll also fold in the other part of the cover-up of Joe Biden's health, of course, his cognitive decline, because Jake Tapper is making the rounds, including on Megyn Kelly's show, and there were some tense exchanges between the two. 5:38.
That, and then Scott Adams telling people, just please stop crying, and he'll tell you why. But now let's head into the newsroom and get the headlines.
Good morning. It's 53 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The No Tax on Tips Act is moving on to the House after it passed unanimously in the Senate Tuesday.
Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada called for immediate passage of the bipartisan bill, and there were no GOP objections. The bill establishes a new tax deduction of up to $25,000 for tips. Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas introduced the No Tax on Tips Act earlier this year. President Trump floated the idea during his campaign, and Democrats also supported it. Eliminating taxes on tips is also expected to be included in the House GOP's mega bill. I'm Mark Mayfield.
President Trump wants to have a Golden Dome defense system up and running in about 3 years. He outlined his plans for the missile defense system in an announcement from the Oval Office alongside Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The Golden Dome is the president's vision for a cutting-edge missile shield that can protect the U.S. from long-range strikes. The president said the final price tag for the system will be around $175 billion. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Blindster.com's Memorial Day sale is on. Save up to 50% on custom blinds, shades, and shutters. Plus, through May 24th, use code RADIOSAVE for an extra 5% off. Shop now at Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now,
you've probably been hearing a lot of buzz about tariffs.
I haven't.
Really?
What's a tariff?
It's a tax on imported goods.
It makes these imported goods more expensive.
Oh, that explains why I've never heard of tariffs.
Why?
Because 92.3% of the furniture at Penny Mustard is made in the USA.
True.
In fact, most of it is built by local craftsmen and women right here in the Midwest.
And locally sourced furniture will never have a tariff on it.
So when you invest in new furniture at Penny Mustard, you won't be paying extra taxes and shipping costs.
Besides, tariffs or no tariffs, our American-made Penny Mustard strong furniture will last generations longer than IFE-made furniture shipped in from overseas.
You get so much more for your money when you buy American.
Tell me more about these tariffs.
Can we talk about this later? I'm so tired of hearing about them.
Oh, so I guess you can say that all this talk about tariffs is taxing.
I see what you did there.
PennyMustard.com.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
The South Suburban Humane Society is building a better world for pets in Chicago's Southland.
They provide adoption, lost found services, and care for more than 4,000 pets a year, as well as helping pet owners with a low-cost spay-neuter clinic and low-cost vet services. Their new animal resource campus opened last year in Madison off I-57 and Lincoln Highway, with the shelter and both clinics in one location. Volunteers, fosters, adopters, and donors are greatly needed. Join our mission. Visit southsuburbanhumane.org.
A healthy fawn may be seen frolicking in its pen, a rehabilitated horse back running happily in the pasture, recovered from injury and neglect. The success of animals like these is from the dedicated volunteers at Paws Critter Crossing. Paws Critter Crossing, located here in Chicagoland, is a nonprofit rehabilitation center for injured and orphaned wildlife and a sanctuary for abused and neglected farm animals. Help PCC raise funds to continue their mission. Go to pawscrittercrossing.org. No donation is too small.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Breezy rain and drizzle today, the high 53. Some off and on rain and drizzle tonight, low 47. Passing shower for tomorrow morning, otherwise a cloudy day, high 57. And then clouds and cool on Friday, the high Friday at 61. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We're talking about the latest piece of spin and damage control to protect the Biden legacy. That's not going great, and that, of course, is that idea that he did not get a PCA screening since 2014, since he was in his last year as vice president, and thus this was not something they knew up until this last weekend when it was disclosed that Biden has late-stage prostate cancer, and we were just discussing how implausible that explanation is. Taking your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
I said this yesterday, too. Is it possible that Jill and the doctors knew he had cancer and not tell him that he had it? Or was he secretly being treated for cancer and going through this pain, without telling the public?
Again, the cancer is reportedly in his bones now. Yeah. And if you go by what Scott Adams and anybody else who has had cancer metastasized in their bones will tell you about the pain, I don't think you could convince Joe Biden that he's not in the pain that he was in. And one would suspect, even if this was indeed the case, that the presidential doctors just decided that doing a basic PCA screening was not necessary, which is wildly implausible in its own right. Then, you just suck it up, Joe, because we've got a legacy to protect. Just suck it up because we got a candidate to protect. Just suck it up because we have a legacy to protect. I don't think so. I don't think that is.
But you know
realistic.
How I am about the timing with the her tapes being released, and then look, now he has cancer that could be.
Yes, that's everybody's reaction.
I know. But also, too, the Dems wanted him off the talkies because when he went on The View, they just wanted him to go away because they want to move forward. They want to look ahead.
That's interesting. The Dems didn't want him on the talkies in the first place, and yet he went on them. So stop stripping agency from the Bidens. These are choices that they have made and are making. And the reason that ostensibly, the reason that they decided to stop doing the talkies is because the talkies weren't going well. So let's get out of game plan A to go on the talkies to refurbish our reputations, to address this forthcoming book about his cognitive decline. And let's roll in prostate cancer so then David Axelrod and everybody else could say, okay, hey, all right. We've had this conversation about his cognitive decline and as Holman Jenkins describes it in the Wall Street Journal, the lickspittleism of the press at every turn. But hey, he's got prostate cancer now, so let's not have these uncomfortable discussions anymore. I mean, that was nicely choreographed. even if it wasn't explicitly done so, because everybody knows the role they're to play. Clay in Libertyville.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. You tell me with the most important man in the world, nobody licked their finger and put it up there? Come on. Her tapes dropped, and then he suddenly has this cancer. This is an absolute show. This is an absolute distraction. Nothing more, nothing less. This is all it is. It's all a big show. And they're going to put the whole blame on him as soon as it takes a negative turn. Same stuff, different day. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call, Clay. Well, the Tapper book is out now, and so he's making the rounds to sell it. And boy, the things he'll do to try to sell books. Holman Jenkins in the Journal asks, would he have even gotten a book deal? Talking about Axios' Alex Thompson, who you've never heard of, and no reason you should have. Would he have even gotten a book deal if his co-author weren't Jake Tapper, to make sure the story was framed as an insider cover-up rather than as a continuous pattern of press conformity and lickspittalism?
That's twice today, lickspittalism.
Well, I was referencing it. That's
I love that word.
That's what this was. The insider cover-up is the latest spin from those who have careers that extend beyond Joe Biden's political career. That's all this is. He writes, and we'll get to Tapper to prove Holman Jenkins' point. The failure was continuous with the press's failure to admit that collusion was a lie, its failure to admit the claim that Hunter Biden's laptop had the hallmarks of Russian intelligence, that was a lie, etc., etc. When people see disaster coming a long way off, they usually do something about it. The press did via its own role in the Biden grift. The role consisted of making sure, to voters and elites alike who could see what was going on with their own eyes, that the grift seemed like a thing that couldn't be challenged without helping Mr. Trump. And, of course, helping Mr. Trump was verboten. The worst thing that you could do, regardless of the consequences, was be seen as not even helping Trump, but just Trump benefiting because you were being honest. Right. For example, the New York Times' Thomas Edsall. Countless 3,000-word pieces citing academics on Trump's incipient Hitlerism. His constant subject was voter attitudes, yet not once did the ancient and esteemed Mr. Edsall acknowledge that the 3-year-long Russia fraud even happened or had a role in causing 152 million Americans in 2020 and 2024 to repudiate the establishment in favor of Trump. This is what occurred, as we all know, because we've been talking about it in real time for the past decade. Jake Tapper is late to the dance. And to her credit, Megyn Kelly was not allowing him to tap dance around his accountability, his role in all of this. This was sort of how it began, very chippy. Megyn Kelly had a lot planned for Jake Tapper. She did her homework and she was ready to rock, and she did.
Over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down. It was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book, we knew and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him, where it was obvious he couldn't get through a 1-minute take. It was clear to us that he was using teleprompter, and there was some reporting on that at the time, all of which the White House was denying. Now, the current White House, I have some connections. With the Joe Biden White House, I had none. But you did. There was an attempted cover-up. It could only ever work if you allowed it, if the press allowed it. Some of us tried not to, and some of us were complicit.
The Biden White House did not like me. Okay, I do not have great connections with the Biden White House.
Well, clearly you have a lot of sources. You say you talked to over 200 sources for this book.
This
so
was
you
after
have
the
some
election.
You could have called and worked.
No, that's the point, is that they were not being honest. That's
well, how
the
did
point.
the Wall Street Journal get it in June of 2024? And Jake Tapper and CNN couldn't find sources for this story then before he dropped out?
Annie Linsky and Siobhan Hughes did an amazing job in their reporting. And they should be heralded, and I heralded them. I had them on my show right after the debate to talk about their great reporting. But Annie Linsky,
the debate, but you did not put them on when they published that story. which was before the debate.
Correct. I don't know what the booking situation was, but it wasn't because I didn't want them. I'm sure I said that day, let's book. I'm sure I said that day, let's book that. Did they?
Yeah, you put on a Democrat, and you allowed the Democrat to rip on the report as a Rupert Murdoch sponsored hit piece.
No.
It's just
Megan.
That's
Megan,
what happened.
if we're going to do this, let's just stick to the facts here, okay? When there is a damaging
Jake,
report,
that's what I've been doing all along.
I'm talking about what you just said.
Didn't miss the biggest story of the century when it comes to presidential politics, and one of us did.
Who's who? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Yeah, one of us didn't miss the biggest presidential story of the century, and one of us did. I think Megyn Kelly meant that she did not.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then it came to the infamous now Lara Trump interview.
Yeah, where he dismissed her and was rude.
Yeah, he ridiculed her.
He did, in front of millions of people.
And...
because, we're all crazy. If we don't agree with them and we're trying to find the truth or tell the truth, they make you feel like you're crazy, you're nuts, and they tell the whole world.
And Megyn Kelly challenged him on that.
Good.
And what he would like to say about that, and played the clip again because it can't be heard enough, just like the Joe Scarborough clip, which we'll get to because Scarborough responded to that now. This was that exchange, and then we find out that Tapper did allegedly call Lara Trump to apologize, and how that went.
You covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't think
interested.
That's true.
Well, I mean, we'll start with the Lara Trump issue that you referred. Here it is. This happened in 2020.
Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You have
to watch
no
somebody on stage search for
that's so amazing.
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel
Lara
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Lara Trump, thank you so much.
Smug little.
Do you want to apologize to Lara Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
I mean, I don't want to disclose the contents of a private conversation, but I thought the conversation went well. And she has said this publicly, so I feel fine sharing it. She said that she would never mock anybody's stutter. Mm-hmm. But I mean, after we did the research for this book, and I realized how bad his acuity issues were, I called Lara Trump and I said you were right.
She was totally right.
And she wasn't mocking him.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
Democrats are so high and mighty.
That's not enough, actually.
No, I'm not. That's not enough, right?
And the problem wasn't that he disputed Lara Trump, and you have no evidence to substantiate the claim of cognitive decline, although we could all see with our eyes. The thing that Jake Tapper has apologized, he's going to, I have great humility about my coverage. No, you don't. Because what you did there is go on the attack to ascribe ill motives to Lara Trump, to suggest something that you had no evidence of, that she was mocking Biden's stutter, which would have required requisite knowledge of the stutter and a purposeful misdirection that I don't really believe that he's in cognitive decline, but I'm going to use his stutter to slime him in suggesting that he is in cognitive decline. You would have to have supporting evidence for all that, but you didn't have supporting evidence for that because exactly what Megyn Kelly said, you were running cover for the administration by ridiculing and sliming, accusing people like Lara Trump of acting barbarically, frankly, if you're going to make some fun of somebody with a disability, for the purpose of political angling. That's what you did. You were as unseemly as Mark Elias or any other apparatchik for that party. That wasn't just misreporting. That wasn't just missing the story. That was attacking someone without foundation because you were running cover for your party and your president. That's what it was, which is why all of this Jake Tapper rolling around now to every podcast and every television show and having all of his colleagues at CNN continue to reference his book to try to get all of the hands across Chicagoland types from Hinsdale to go run out and buy it. And so Jake Tapper can make a few more shekels. That's why this is so sickening. This has nothing to do with a reckoning. This just has to do with sort of personal reputation management and enrichment, which is, frankly, the only thing the D.C. press corps in general is interested in.
But also, too, by attacking Laura Trump, he was attacking her father-in-law because it was a presidential race and it was like, Trump looks bad. Look at what his daughter-in-law said. She was mocking a man who has a stutter, and she never even brought up the fact that she had a stutter.
Matt in South Bend.
Thank you for taking my call. It's just amazing how much incompetence there was in that administration. I mean, for as much as even when the debacle of the debate happened, why didn't he have a full scope of tests which would have automatically found that evidence of that cancer? And it just amazes me how much of a mandate for the Democrats to ride that horse almost all the way until it passed, and without shooting it, I guess you could say, is one thing. But God bless you for bringing it up again, because this needs to change. It's not worthy.
Thanks for the call, Matt.
Well, the trust has been, completely, absolutely destroyed. I will never believe another Democrat. I will never believe the mainstream media ever again. I'm done.
I mean, how many times have you said that? Many. After every episode. The Russian collusion, the Hunter laptop, COVID. I mean, we just keep saying it over and over again. When did you, I mean, there's like a line of, is there a line of demarcation, or did you just sort of redraw the line after every episode?
Just draw the line in the sand, yeah. Like Obama did with Syria.
Don in Palm Desert, California.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. You're absolutely correct. You can't trust any of them, including Fox News. What was Peter Doocy doing for 4 years? Just being a lapdog? What was Brett Baer doing for 4 years? All of them, Dan and Amy. They're all frauds.
Well, thanks for the call, Don. No, I don't think so. Not necessarily. No. There was definitely the raising of the issue by Baer and Ducey specifically.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention, I mean, of course, the commentators were saying a lot of the same things that we were. So I don't think so. There was, Tapper's now, as part of his, ritual of humiliation / reconciliation. The walk of atonement he's doing now, like Cersei in Game of Thrones. Is the right-wing, quote-unquote, right-wing media was right. So, no, Fox was a separate, I mean, and I'm not necessarily a fan of a lot of Fox content, but...
you love the five.
But Fox was quite distinguishable from the rest of the D.C. press corps. I mean, let's be fair. And so was the Wall Street Journal, as even Megyn Kelly pointed out, too. Kevin in Boston.
Let's not forget... This man, Joe Biden, had, 3 or 4 press conferences the whole term. But all of us, yes, I want to go back. The revelation of this, most of us knew that Joe Biden had cancer. That was a malicious cancer running through his bones back to the mid-'80s. What he did when he ran the first State of the Union as a senator, reaching out to Delaware, to Joe Biden, Dr. Jill's first husband, that just wanted to go and live his life. He was a wealthy businessman. They pulled a January 6th on this poor man. This man's been dirty, as your callers have said. I want to contest greater than 53 years of 55 years of public life, which was just serving him. It's been his whole life. That's the cancer.
Thanks for the call,
Well, in
Kevin.
2022, didn't he was at a campaign stop and he said he had cancer. And then he took it back and said, no, I don't.
Right. We don't know if that was a Freudian slip or not, but as you've heard from oncologists and urologists, he has had this affliction for years. Zeke Emanuel, not part of the vast right-wing conspiracy, said it could be up to 10 years. By the way, another name has come out with the book, since these 200 people that Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson spoke to are all of a sudden willing to go on the record to try to do their own reputation management exercises. That little rascal, Mike Quigley.
Oh, yeah. He was all over the book.
Trip to Ireland in April of 23. Quigley saw Biden, he tells Tapper and Thompson, saw Biden rapidly go from energetic to drained. This was how his father Bill had been before he died, Quigley's father dying from Parkinson's disease, and he saw in Biden's behavior the same thing he saw during his father's decline. Biden, Quigley thought, needed to go to bed for the rest of the day and night. He wasn't merely physically frail. He had lost almost all of his energy. His speech was breathless, soft, and weak. Another congresshuman that was with Quigley on that Biden trip to Ireland in 2023 said the same thing, and he compared it to a family member. Maybe it was his father, I can't remember, but a family member had suffered from Alzheimer's. So just remember these references that are now coming out to all of these people who saw something and didn't say anything because you couldn't, because political ambitions where political status was more important than leveling with your constituents, in the case of Quigley, for example, and the American people, generally speaking. Yeah. There are Tapper and Thompson, and I'm sure some of these congressmen coming forward now are trying to repackage themselves as not part of this conspiracy of dunces, but as people who had an impossible balancing act, and they are happy to tell people what they saw now, but there were legitimate reasons why they couldn't then, and all of this recasting. Don't buy it for a second.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, can we... Oh, no, I'm just saying because I didn't know who was the chief of staff. The whole time I thought it was Jill Biden. Well, Jake Tapper says it's somebody else. Today, rain and drizzle throughout the day. Cool, a high of 52 degrees. It is now 6 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
They've been working since 1 a.m. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The House Rules Committee trying to finalize a massive budget plan. Hours after President Trump went to the Capitol, trying to unite Republicans around one big, beautiful bill. GOP Congressman Morgan Griffith tells Fox.
I think he did change a few votes, but not all of them. And so we're still working, the Speaker is still working behind the scenes to get all the votes lined up. And it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. You have to keep twisting things around, and eventually we can get there.
They hope for a final House vote tonight or tomorrow. Democrats oppose the budget plan.
This bill kills jobs, explodes the deficit, and overwhelmingly helps the rich.
But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer doesn't have the votes to block it once it passes the House. After the Trump trip to the Capitol, he touted the new missile defense system the commander-in-chief is planning.
Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles, even if they are launched from other sides of the world, and even if they are launched from space.
And the president plans to have the Golden Dome in place by the end of his term. Israel has an Iron Dome already in place. It attacked Hamas again with airstrikes overnight that Palestinians claim killed at least 45 people in Gaza, where Fox's Jonathan Savage reports.
Mothers say children are crying from hunger, and it's becoming impossible to protect families from starvation, missiles and scorching heat. Despite Israel now allowing some trucks to enter Gaza carrying badly needed food and medicine, aid groups say none of it has yet reached civilians.
Another escaped prisoner captured in Louisiana, where the manhunt continues for 5 more still on the loose.
Corey Boyd, a 19-year-old, taken into custody at a housing development. He's now being moved to a state facility and could face additional charges. Boyd was originally held for second-degree murder, aggravated battery, and threatening a public official.
Fox's Nate Foy in New Orleans, where 10 prisoners broke out of the jail last Friday. America's listening to Fox News.
morning. It's 52 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Chicago aldermen could vote today on a proposed SNAP curfew for minors downtown. Alderman Brian Hopkins says that the call for the curfew was driven from the beginning by the Chicago Police Department.
The leadership of Superintendent Snelling, his team, that have had the very difficult challenge of trying to intervene when you have 200, even 300 young teenagers taking over a street or a park.
The Public Safety Committee voted yesterday to approve a proposal that would give the Chicago Police Superintendent and Deputy Mayor the ability to suddenly call a curfew in the event of a large teen gathering. The ordinance was in response to a large number of teen takeovers that led to violence in downtown. If approved, supporters are hoping to have it implemented in time for summer. ComEd customers will see a $10 increase in their electric bill next month. Utility officials say they will not profit from the price hike, but a Citizens Utility Board spokesman, Jim Chilson, talks about who does benefit.
Big power generators, the companies that sell power to utilities like ComEd, are making a killing off these higher prices.
ComEd electric bills are expected to increase again in October. News is a service of Low T Center. Guys, have you been thinking about starting TRT? The time is now. You can visit any Low T Center or Synergex and get your consultation and test free. Don't let low testosterone slow you down this spring. Get the energy you need at Synergex or Low T Center. Offer limited. Book now at fixmylowt.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s. And less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-973-9819. And you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9819. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9819 now to secure your $10 gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-973-9819.
You deserve a dedicated financial resource. Meet Michelle Ashute with West Point Financial Group, a Mass Mutual firm. Michelle builds lifelong relationships, guiding families through legacy strategies, from grandparents down to grandkids. She helps people secure their financial independence. Her tailored approach to savings can help you prepare for college, retirement, or business protection. Michelle's needs-based approach helps you prepare for all of life's biggest moments. Michelle Ashute of West Point Financial Group, helping you earn, learn, and secure your tomorrow. Email Michelle at mshoot@financialguide.com. That's MSCHOOT at financialguide.com. Local firms or sales offices of Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company. Mass Mutual, Springfield, Massachusetts 01111-001, and are not subsidiaries of Mass Mutual or its affiliated companies. Michelle Ashute is a registered representative of and offers securities through MML Investor Services, LLC, member SIPC. Supervisory office located at 30 South Wacker Drive, Suite 2700, Chicago, Illinois 60606.
Whew, that shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
From the Team Hawkwork Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, 10 minutes outbound, about 13 minutes. That's due to police activity off on the shoulder between Ontario and Division Street. Now, also outbound between the Byrne interchange and O'Hare, you've got stop and go delays due to police activity again between Ontario and Division Street. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes outbound, 14 minutes. Traffic is a service of Air Ride Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Ride Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy rain and drizzle today, the high 53. Some off and on rain and drizzle tonight, low 47. Passing shower for tomorrow morning, otherwise a cloudy day, high 57. And then clouds and cool on Friday, the high Friday at 61. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is sponsored by TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Certified financial planner Tim Stearns holds a weekly discussion of the financial challenges to secure retirement. Listen Saturday at noon for Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy talking about the latest Biden con. The Robert Don't Call Me Ben-Hur interview, audio released, then the prostate cancer diagnosis, and this all against the backdrop of Jake Tapper doing a media tour selling his book to make the case that the covering of Biden's cognitive decline, as ham-handed and unconvincing as it was an inside job in which the D.C. press corps was largely, not completely, because they have some humility about their coverage, but largely perpetrated against them by an insular group of Biden inner circle types. And they certainly were not part of any conspiracy to defraud the public. Got an email on this from a listener. All this speculation, did they know, did they not know? Was the release of information timed as a distraction? Why wasn't this detected earlier? None of the chatter about this is accomplishing anything. All you guys in the media are making the choice to focus on the cancer. Let it go and get back to the important issues. If this was meant to be a distraction, you're all playing into it by your own choice. My response is no, I'm not letting it go. This is an quote-unquote important issue on many levels that should be obvious. Fundamental honesty. Something else to consider. Whatever David Axelrod and Hakeem Jeffries tells me not to talk about when it comes to their neo-Marxist party.
Talk about.
That's what I'm going to discuss.
Yep.
Yeah. They want this to go away for all sorts of obvious reasons, just like they wanted Joe Biden to go away for all sorts of obvious reasons. And I know Chicagoland denizens are inured to being conned. Some even enjoy it, apparently, including in Berwyn. But I don't. And if your expectations are so low that it's just everybody cons everybody all the time, and certainly in politics, and so, well, then what important issue can we discuss? If you can't discuss sort of fundamental honesty as an issue and an expectation of people in public office, then why discuss esoteric policy issues? Because if you can't trust somebody's integrity, then how can you trust what they're saying or doing on anything? I mean, which is, I concede why you, listen to what they say, but actually watch what they do and report on what they do. But you have to connect the dots, too, if you ever want anybody to develop a understanding of the system and the cons such that they, at some point in time, from time to time, they actually hold one of these flim-flam men accountable. So, yeah, we're going to talk about it.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. One thing yesterday that just stunned me, I listened to all of Megyn Kelly's podcasts. I normally do. But when he was on, Jake Tapper and his friend, that nobody knows, co-author of the book, was on with Katie Couric. I have this whole time, and maybe I'm naive, thought that Dr. Jill was chief of staff running the show. And,
not a doctor, not chief of staff. What are you talking about?
The way she acted, she'd be sitting in a cabinet meeting.
Yes.
I thought she was in control, but I had no idea that his son had played a part.
How big a factor was the Hunter stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
Well, I mean, I'm just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean, I don't have a lot of personal regard for him, and just based on having nothing to do with, I barely have ever met him. I've met him like once or twice. But I knew Bo. Bo was a great, upstanding guy.
I knew him too, really.
A real loss for the country, too. Not just for his family, for the country. But Hunter is not that. And the idea of letting him drive the family car, as it were, is just really, really questionable.
Hunter Biden? I know that there was a video towards the end of his presidency. He was with him, or during his presidency, he was with him a lot. But I had no idea he was making any decisions for his father.
That's not what she said. Or he said. That's not what he said. First of all, Joe Biden called Hunter Biden the smartest man I know. Secondly, what he said was effectively chief of staff for the family, not the administration.
Okay.
Third, the real takeaway here is, Jake, you have little regard for Hunter Biden. You find him a particularly disreputable person. Oh, really? Yeah. Welcome. Thank you for joining the rest of the country on this too. I'm sorry if Megyn Kelly have heard that response rather than the feckless Katie Couric. Maybe you would have gotten. I'm sorry. One of the other areas of non-reporting that was done, of covering up, was the Hunter Biden laptop, and that the story was a story because, of course, the big guy was the head, was at the top of the pyramid. He was the head of this hillbilly crime family from Wilmington. And what Jake Tapper and the rest of the D.C. press corps did instead of providing the level of detail and discussion that, say, a Peter Schweitzer did, because of the books he wrote about secret empires, and others who took up the obvious issues of conflicts of interest and influence peddling, including with America's enemies. You said you covered this, you, the D.C. press corps, including you, Jake, and all of your sycophants at CNN. This is a story about a father's love for his son struggling with addiction. That's what we were continually hit with. The moralizing. How dare you, make this unseemly about business. Ignore Tony Bobulinski. Ignore what Devin Archer. We got to ignore all that. I didn't see them making star turns on CNN or MSNBC. I didn't see them on Jake Tapper's show. I saw them on Tucker and Tucker and Tucker.
And that was it.
That's another part of the conspiring to cover for this corrupt and mentally unfit administration and president. It was a story about a father helping his son with addiction, nothing more.
And then a bag of cocaine appeared, and you questioned, whose could it be? And they were outraged. Not Hunter's. How dare you?
Joe Scarborough much like Jake Tapper, wants to contextualize his performance over the closing days, weeks, months of the Biden administration.
Oh, he wants to change his role in it?
No, he wants to contextualize what he did. He's certainly not going to apologize, just like Tapper doesn't really apologize. Oh, I apologize to Lord Trump, but I have great humility about my coverage. It's a sort of a non-apology apology because he is holding fast to this idea that he was not wittingly or unwittingly a part of any sort of covering for the president. Okay. Well, Scarborough is doing the same thing. He appeared on Mark Halperin's podcast, who, was a regular on Morning Joe until he got Me Too'd into the penalty box for a while. Now he's making his way back through podcasting. Well, remember what Scarborough said. Remember that throwdown, because this shall live in infamy right alongside Tapper's ridiculing of Laura Trump and accusing her of preying on poor Joe Biden's stutter. Nothing could be further from the truth, of course, which he now acknowledges. This is what Joe Scarborough said. After the Her report came out,
okay,
a few months before the June 2024 debate.
Comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it.
Best version of Biden ever.
Roll the tape, Dan.
F
Well,
you
we
if you don't
recorded
believe it. So, Scarborough went on Halperin to contextualize those comments, not walking them back, because he had a 3-hour meeting with Biden, and according to Joe Scarborough, he answered, he took him around the globe in terms of one country after another, America's policy, America's interest, the philosophy behind the policy in service of America's interest, and all that. And he was better than 99% of the politicians you'll ever talk to. That's Joe Scarborough. And so this is more of that exchange between the two to contextualize what you heard from Scarborough back then, not that long ago.
I told you for several months, I said, Joe, best Biden ever has become the symbol for the right of the media and MSNBC having so much Trump derangement syndrome that you're claiming that a guy who's clearly lost mental acuity is the best Biden ever. Now, I say to people, go watch the State of the Union address. Talk to people who talk to Joe Biden. He had good days and bad days. You were with him on a good day and had conversations with him on a good day. But
on good days. Good days.
Good days. Yeah. Looking back at that, do you say, well, it was misleading to say best Biden ever without caveating it and say, except on the days when he's not the best Biden ever?
Well, but I never saw those days personally.
Well, you did because you saw him address a dead congresswoman, and you saw him in South Carolina.
A dead congresswoman, yeah.
Yeah, well, more than that. I can show you. I can show you the RNC clip reels. There were plenty of days in public when he was not the best Biden ever, and of course, shortly after,
he stumbled and bumbled around. Mark, I mean, yeah, he certainly did. Donald Trump did. Other politicians did.
They all do it.
Oh yeah, sure.
But it's actually the same case as a lot of times when I've gone in and talked to Donald Trump. We've gone to Donald Trump, and I've heard the media narrative around Donald Trump, and certainly I've been very critical of Donald Trump. And when I leave, I have a better understanding, just like Jeffrey Goldberg did a couple of weeks ago, I have a better understanding of where Donald Trump is mentally, if Donald Trump is losing it, like people have said through the years or not. And so again, am I going to look at a clip that's gone viral and pay more attention to that than 2.5, 3 hours I had with a guy one-on-one going around the world? No, I'm just not going to. Are some of the clips bad? Yeah, they certainly are bad. I can understand why people would see that without the context and say that there was a problem with that, especially because I said start rolling your tape right here. It's like, but when I look at that tape, based on what I saw with Biden, based on the time that I spent with Biden, based on the hundreds of hours that I talked to people who talked to Biden and people that worked with Biden,
who were all lying,
and were with him day in and day out, good friends that I know that I trusted before Biden was president, that I trust now that Biden's not president. I mean, put in the proper context. I'm just not going to freak out and melt down on one or two clips.
Isn't it wild how we all saw these obvious instances of Biden's decline and confusion and listlessness and nonsense and, yes, misidentifying a dead congresswoman as alive, and 2 weeks after he had ordered flags flown at half-mast in her memory. Yeah. We all saw that. But everybody inside the Beltway, their interactions with Biden turned out to be very limited, every single one of them now. And they always got him on good days. Everyone inside the Beltway always got Biden on good days, which is why they didn't see this, and which is why their frame of reference is, well, that wasn't my experience. And so all I can tell you is my experience. I saw the same things you saw, but then I had this experience that you didn't have. And so that's the way you have to contextualize it to absolve me of any sort of accusation that I was conspiring to cover for this corrupt, mentally unfit president. That's the basic gist of what they're offering.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And I doubt Joe Scarborough spent 3 hours with Biden. Please.
Tom in Blue Island.
Dan and Amy, good morning. Despite all Joe Biden's protestations about being in business with Hunter Biden, it seems to me Hunter Biden would need to stay really close to Joe Biden as much as possible to make sure he didn't accidentally give away the farm on the nefarious business actions they were into.
Well, I mean, but that happened. That happened when he was, occasionally asked about it very politely and deferentially. And it was, I never met any of his business partners. Right. And then you've got the call and you say, I can't say hi to my son. It's just, it was parsing of words and responses and having to suspend disbelief to dismiss Tony Bobulinski's detailed testimony. I mean, not just on Tucker, but also before a congressional committee. Devin Archer, what he had to say before both. I mean, you had to be willfully blind. And if you're willfully blind, that means you're ignoring something that is germane but uncomfortable for and adverse to your interests. And that's what the D.C. press corps did. Well, that's conspiring. Will and Skokie.
Good morning. Yeah, it's the news media's job whenever dealing with politicians or dealing especially with the administration, both administrations, to be somewhat critical, to be somewhat, hey, show me the receipts. As you said, don't have willful blindness. Just be critical. Not overwhelmingly. You're not trying to scam the guy or slam him. You're just trying to say, okay, what are the facts? That's the whole thing. Who, what, when, where, why. But the news media doesn't do that anymore. All they do is cover up, and they're too in the can for that side. They're too hateful of Trump to be critical of the other side. You got to look at both sides. You got to look at all 3 or 4 sides. So that's where I said. Bye bye.
Thanks for the call, Will. George in Naperville.
Yes, I guess crack is whack is part of the Biden legacy, because if he had that much of a role, Hunter, that's a scary thing to think about.
Well, I mean, the role was in the influence peddling, the crime family, the making sure the big guy's bills got paid and he stayed in the lifestyle to which he was accustomed, and that checks were cut to the extended family as well. But I mean, the people that are running it, the show, we still don't have individual accountability.
Right.
Maybe we're getting there, but I mean, there are people that are names that you don't know. Ron Klain was an actual chief of staff and longtime Biden confidant, dating back decades.
Okay.
Mike Donnellan was a guy brought on to be an advisor who got paid $4 million during the campaign. By comparison, his campaign manager, Jen O'Malley Dixon, got paid about $300,000. So who's really...
That's a big difference.
Inner circle. Who's
Right.
really, who is Biden leaning on? These are the names. And then you have Psaki and KJP that obviously had routine interaction with him and whoever was calling the shots. And then they were the, professional prevaricators that would go out and recite the, comrade has a slight cold, Brezhnevian lines to the D.C. press corps, who then would dutifully report them and slime anybody who questioned the official story.
President Trump yesterday, he questioned, and I believe this, all the moves Biden made because we don't know if he's the one who did it.
We're going to start looking into this whole thing with who signed this legislation. Who signed legislation opening our border? I don't think he knew. I said there's nobody that could want an open border. Nobody. And now I find out that it wasn't him. He auto-penned it. Who was operating the auto-pen? No sane person would sign it. You know who signed it? Radical left lunatics that were running our country, and the auto-pen signed it. And they didn't want him, and they were disappointed in getting him because they wanted Bernie Sanders. And then after about 2 weeks, they said, wait a minute, this is a gift. He'll do anything.
Yeah, well, he would always do anything because he was a company man.
Right.
That's where the party was.
And that's why they chose him.
But yeah, no, I want individual names and who said and did what and how did the protocol of decision making work? Absolutely, which is why we're going to stick on this. But in terms of and the suggestion I made yesterday, which I'll reiterate, is that congressional Republicans should hold hearings on this and whistle people in. And if they want to
the doctor
ignore a subpoena or they want to plead the fifth, then you can go ahead and do that, and people will read into that what they will. And frankly, if they flout a subpoena, they can be prosecuted the same way that, I don't know, Steve Bannon or Peter Navarro was.
Could they bring up Biden's doctor to testify?
Well, I would think.
Yeah.
I would think.
Okay,
I want to know if if there was no PSA screening since 2014 and why, and did Biden ever report experiencing intense pain, the kind of pain that people feel when prostate cancer spreads to their bones and so forth. A lot of questions for the doctor.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
At almostfreeteeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Hey, Amy Jacobson here, and OMG, I was absolutely speechless when I saw my new garage floor. Level 10 Coatings did such an amazing job, and now my garage floor shines. Level 10 Coatings specializes in expert garage floor coatings for both residential and commercial spaces. Their floors are durable, easy to maintain, and best of all, done in just one day. Hey, if you've been thinking about upgrading your garage floor with that shiny new showroom look, please call my good friends at Level 10 Coatings at 855-510-2628 or book your free consultation online at level10coatings.com. And here's a bonus. Mention me, Amy Jacobson, and you'll get $500 off your project. Call 855-510-2628 or visit level10coatings.com today, or call 855-510-2628.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere, delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
S&C brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177. Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, we'll get our friend Jim Urio's analysis of the big, beautiful bill and its current construction, see what economic impact he thinks it will have if passed in its current form. That's 6:36, Jim Urio.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 52 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy's making it a requirement for commercial truck drivers to be fluent in English. Under the new guidance, drivers who do not meet the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's English language proficiency requirements will be placed out of service. Google will be bringing Gemini live to Chrome. It'll be available for Mac and to Windows. The company's AI-generated browsing assistant, known as Gemini, again will be available in Chrome, so users can ask follow-up questions while searching for websites, and future versions will be able to navigate the web and take other actions on behalf of the user. Millions of holiday travelers will be enjoying cheap gas this Memorial Day weekend.
Gas Buddy says the national average price for a gallon of gas will be about $3.08, which would be the cheapest Memorial Day gas price since 2021. The gas price website says adjusted for inflation, it could be the lowest Memorial Day gas price since 2003. AAA says over 39 million people will travel by car over the holiday weekend. That's up 3% from last year. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. I check out the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Charlie Kirk sees the president making strategic moves.
China needs Saudi Arabia. China needs Qatar. China needs the United Arab Emirates. But if President Trump, being the master statesman, is able to negotiate some friendship and some relationship with these Gulf states, he's then able to diplomatically ice out China when China needs these three actors.
The Charlie Kirk Show, weekdays at 11, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Spring is here. It's time to get outside and enjoy the beautiful weather in a brand new scooter from Mars Medical in New Lenox. Come see and test drive their full collection of new and used power mobility devices for sale. Mars Medical carries full and travel size scooters from Pride Mobility and Golden Technologies. Inventory is moving out daily, so don't hesitate to pick out your new scooter today. And don't forget, Mars Medical also has lightweight and compact transport wheelchairs available for sale or rental use for those day trips to the zoo or to the park. Some units weigh as little as 19 pounds. Or improve your outdoor activities this spring with a rollator walker. Mars Medical has over 7 models of rollator walkers on the floor for purchase. Make this spring one to remember on the north side of Route 30 between Cedar and Vine Road in New Lenox. Or go to MarsMedicalSupply.com. Mars Medical, customer care that is out of this world.
There's a financial article that had this advice about spending money in retirement. Don't touch your Social Security until 70. Don't touch your 401k until 73. Don't touch your Roth IRA until everything else is gone. Okay, so what's missing? Well, you gotta eat. Aren't we past the point of our lives when our mommy slaps our hands and says, don't touch that? That's not what you're gonna hear when you call Alpha Wealth Group. You've worked hard to get where you are at this point in your life. It's time to enjoy yourself and your money. The complimentary discovery meeting will show you how to grow and protect money, how to reduce taxes, what to do about Social Security, and most importantly, how to build your monthly income so you can have confidence in your retirement and enjoy yourself. Call Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group today at 630-864-6711 and ask for a complimentary discovery visit. You can also visit Alpha Wealth Group at alphawealthgroup.com, or you can call 630-864-6711.
Give your liver the support it needs with Active Liver. Go to newnordicusa.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. Now, we do have police activity that's going to be stop and go. This is on between Ontario and Division Street. That's also going to be affecting you on the other side if you're going to be heading between the Burn Interchange and out to O'Hare. Now, on the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 16 minutes. Outbound, 16 minutes as well. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Don't postpone better sleep. Shop Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale now. Upgrade to a premium bed from a curated selection and take your rest to the next level. Don't miss out. Visit Mattress Firm today. Get matched. Sleep at night. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy, cool days, some rain and drizzle. High today 53. Off and on rain and drizzle for tonight, low 47. Passing shower tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy, high 57. And then clouds remaining cool on Friday, high Friday at 61. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Elon Musk back spending more of his time at Tesla, it seems fairly clear. Sat down with CNBC to reflect on his Doge experience to date. He had this to say about the impact his Doge profile had on his businesses, starting with Tesla.
Your work at Doge, for example, was that worth it? You know, to the extent you are now, Elon, you were a somewhat divisive figure 2 years ago, but now you really are. I mean, there are people who love you, but there are a lot of people who dislike you, some of whom were your customers. And I wonder, was it worth the undertaking at Doge and everything else that you've done and how outspoken you've been in terms of the things you believe in to antagonize so many potential buyers and or users of things like a robo-taxi?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, what I've learned is that legacy media propaganda is very effective at making people believe things that aren't true.
What would an example of that be?
That I'm a Nazi, for example. Right. And how many legacy media publications, talk shows, whatever, try to claim that I was a Nazi because of some random hand gesture at a rally where all I said was that my heart goes out to you, and I was talking about space travel.
Legacy media propaganda smearing has a big impact. Yeah. I think we just spent the first hour and a half of this show talking about it. It can go in both directions. They're a sword or a shield for who they choose. And who do they choose? Well, it's based on ideology and political party affiliation. Right. It's the same thing Elon Musk experienced in the negative. Joe Biden was the beneficiary of. It's the same thing. It's the same story that repeats itself because the storytellers repeat themselves. But he had this to say about, controversies that were used as sort of the representations of Doge's work, starting with the first one out of the box, really, USAID.
As you start to transition now back to Tesla in a more significant way, was it worth it?
Yeah, first of all, any program in USAID that had any semblance of merit was retained and folded into the State Department. So, and if there's some exception to that, we're all ears and we'd love to look at it. We just want to see the evidence that the program was actually doing good, and not just funding graft in D.C. and warlords in some country. Because over and over again, we saw so sympathetic sounding programs.
Right.
But when we actually said, well, please show us pictures of the recipients of the aid, or let us get into contact with them. No pictures were forthcoming. They didn't give us any contact information. And we're like, look, we're not going to send money to DC grafters and warlords. That's not a good use of money. So that's not what we're going to do. Now, invariably, when you stop waste and fraud, it's not like the fraudsters admit their guilt. They don't say like, oh, isn't it so great that the money we were getting, fortunately, has been stopped. They will obviously come up with a sympathetic sounding claim that claim has no merit.
Yeah, and the fraudsters and then the flacks for the fraudsters, like the neo-Marxist members of Congress that will do the same. By the way, a related story, USAID. A British man, Stephen Paul Edmund Sutton, pled guilty for participation in a USAID fraud scheme perpetrated when he was employed by a contracting firm that implemented a USAID power distribution program in Pakistan. Good oversight. Sutton pleaded guilty to conspiring to commit theft concerning a program receiving federal funds, which is a felony. In his role as a logistics operations manager, Sutton took kickbacks of USAID funds used to pay for the services rendered. Right, and he's the only one in the federal government that engage in illicit personal enrichment. I suppose you would get in response from the neo-Marxists. Of course, when you throw trillions of dollars around, there's going to be some waste, fraud, and abuse. And I'm against the waste, fraud, and abuse, but only theoretically. I don't want to do anything structurally to change anything that would prevent or reduce the waste, fraud, and abuse, and that's what Elon Musk ran into. And frankly, what we all continue to run into based on the big, beautiful bill that is making its way to the president's desk. For more on all this, pleased to be joined by Jim Urio, host of the Future's Edge podcast, special contributor to WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related, and the proprietor of Brandt's Restaurant in Palatine. Jim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
What would you say to the question about that was put to Elon Musk? Was it worth it? From our perspective, was it worth it to have Elon ride point and take all that heat rather than, continue to push to the frontiers of space and technology with his companies and employ many thousands more, focus on those businesses?
So with the Musk story, it all starts, look, he ran afoul of the propagandist media when he bought Twitter and allowed two sides of the story. Remember, they didn't want any pushback on any of their idiotic ideas, and he was the one who stood up and said, well, this is stupid. I've had, friends, people within the finance business who posited theories back in 2020 and 2021 and were immediately kicked off Twitter, things about the vaccine, things about the pandemic, air quotes, and they were kicked off Twitter because we couldn't discuss it. And Elon Musk comes around and says, no, it should be a two-sided debate. So guess who doesn't like that? People whose debate points are absolutely stupid, and that was the most of the fringe left. So as soon as he did that, he became a bad guy. Then why did he throw himself in with Donald Trump? Because remember, they were trying to put him in jail. They were trying to take his company away. They were using the same sort of lawfare against Elon Musk as they were using against Donald Trump. So is it worth it for our country? It is absolutely 100% worth it. Without two-sided discussion on social media, but, a lot of the people wouldn't, have woken up to some of the ridiculous things that were foisted upon us in 5 years ago. So is it worth it for him? I hope so. I mean, that stock, I did buy some of that stock when it was beaten down. And again, I'm not telling anyone to buy a stock if I don't know your risk tolerance, but I did buy the Tesla stock when it was beaten down because it was beaten down for all the wrong reasons. Tesla's a pretty amazing company, and you're going to all sell it because a bunch of fringe lunatics are burning car lots? That made no sense to me.
Yeah, well, And how has it performed since you bought it?
Yeah, what are you taking us to dinner this weekend, this Memorial Day?
I'd say.
What was the question, Amy?
I said, are you taking Dan and I to dinner this weekend?
Sure, absolutely. Come Saturday. Saturday I'm going downtown to the Paul Simon concert. But if Friday come out, I'll buy you dinner at Brand.
Paul Simon. Is Garfunkel back yet?
What's that?
Is Garfunkel back yet?
Hold it. You're not going to disparage Paul Simon. The guy's put out a lot of good music for the last however many years. The guy deserves my $100 ticket or whatever much it costs. I'm sure tickets cost a lot more than that, but I didn't buy them.
Is Edie Brickell we're opening for him?
Is he still married to Edie Brickell?
I guess. I
you know what? I'm going to Google that.
I don't know.
Sorry, I should.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Where's the venue? Where's Paul Simon performing?
He's at the Chicago Symphony Center, which I had never heard of. Have you guys?
Yeah. I've heard of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice. That's good. It's a good venue.
Yes, they're still married.
Well, it's
He's
great.
been married to her since 1992.
It's wonderful.
I thought you guys would learn some pop culture today.
Give Paul and Edie our regards this weekend, Jim.
For sure.
Yeah. Ray Dalio, Bridgewater billionaire, big hedge fund guy. Talking about the Moody's downgrade. Now, again, this is, as we talked about with Jeannie Ives, I think on yesterday or Friday, I can't remember. But, the rating agencies have their own problems and corruption. So the Moody's downgrade, I'm not hysterical about. But Dalio says this about debt downgrade. Credit ratings understate credit risk because they only rate the risk of the government not paying its debt. They don't include the greater risk that the countries in debt will print money to pay their debts, thus causing holders of bonds to suffer losses from the decreased value of the money they're getting rather than from the decreased quantity of money they're getting. Said differently, for those who care about the value of their money, the risks for U.S. government debt are greater than the rating agencies are conveying. Do you concur?
Well, so I like that he said something that's important. I wrote about this a couple of days ago. Moody's they said they downgraded U.S. Treasury debt, but that's asinine. If you hold U.S. Treasury debt, you're always going to get paid back, whether they create more dollars to do it or not. You're always going to get paid back the dollars you owe it. But you might get paid back in a cheaper currency if they just keep printing dollars to pay their debt. So I like the way he said that too. Now the thing with Moody's. Okay, if you look at us, let's go even back 2 years when they were passing that asinine Inflation Reduction Act, which was one of the biggest spending bills I've ever seen, and they were accruing debt at a rate of $1 trillion every 95 days, accruing debt. And then Moody's was fine with that. They didn't say anything about that now. Now that we're all of a sudden trying to get us back on a track, which, by the way, I thought the deficits were going to be bigger in 2025 because tax cuts and deregulation usually don't start to filter into the greater economy for about a year or so. So I think 2025 is going to be a tough year. But it's the only choice we had to try to get back on a path that wasn't leading us directly toward the rocks at 100 miles an hour. And we were doing that from a debt standpoint before. You can't rack up that sort of debt. Now, the last thing I'd say about Moody's is that we're talking about U.S. Treasury debt here, which is the most analyzed by the top minds over the globe every day on a daily basis. To think that Moody's can pop in at the end and say, "Oh yeah, we're downgrading U.S. debt," who do they think they are? They're all loaded with second-rate intellects who couldn't get a job at the big hedge funds that are actually rating this stuff every day. So we're not very, very interested in what Moody's had to say, and that's why you can see that the stock market rallied the day after Moody's downgraded us. Treasuries didn't really do very much; they were already kind of a little bit on a downward trajectory. Does any of that make sense?
It does. I mean, Moody, as you say, Moody's had no problem with Bidenomics, which
none,
right? And they had A pluses across the board for all the subprime lenders before the 08-09 crash. And
I was just throwing that in. Amen to that. Yeah,
right. So I mean, it's more like that because they still have a brand in certain circles. It's more the conversation it generates about the lack of spending, real spending reductions in what is being proposed from congressional Republicans, and what that portends right now for this continuing to build upon the $36 trillion and $100 trillion plus debt and $100 trillion plus of unfunded liabilities.
Right. I agree with them on that. I am disappointed in the first 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is of this administration, that there hasn't been any meteor cutbacks made in spending. Like if it was you and I taking over, we would look at this equation and say, you know what, the Defense Department has got to probably get less money, maybe by 10%. Wow. We have to rework a lot of different things, and they have not done those things effectively. So if Moody's is saying they said they were going to cut lots of spending and they've only cut a little bit of spending, and it's still, the deficits are still ballooning, I actually agree with Moody's on that. Not that I asked their opinion. Like I'll say again, there's people who are talking about that all the time. Let the adults talk. You guys just go back and rate mortgage backs as AAA and tell everyone to buy them.
Well, not only they're not cutting defense spending, they want more to build this golden dome over Washington, D.C. How much is that going to cost?
Exactly, and I think that's irresponsible at this point in our history. I think we need to be looking for meaningful cuts, and I don't think they're doing that effectively. That being said, as far as this administration compared to the last one, I think we're miles better. And I don't regret my vote for even a millisecond.
No, but it would
complaints about the way they handle it.
It would have been nice if Musk had said, in terms of the was it worth it question, and said, well, it was worth it because there are things more important to me than money, like the future of this country, which I know he believes. But it is a little disappointing that congressional Republicans are not willing to go farther than they have demonstrated their willingness to go. That they're balking at work requirements for able-bodied men on Medicaid. They're quadrupling the SALT deduction to reward big blue tax and spend states like New York and Illinois and California, and the rich within those states that prop up these terrible politicians and who advance this terrible public policy. I actually, at this point, it's all built into the price. I'd like to see Musk get a little sharper in his rebukes. I put a lot on the line, and I expect more than what House and Senate Republicans are delivering at this point.
There's no question about it. Amen. And the SALT thing, and I agree with you, even though I'm going to obviously be a beneficiary of that, being someone in Illinois. So, selfishly, I was like, okay, pass it. It puts more money in my pocket. But theoretically, it's ridiculous because it absolutely is an enabler of the high-tax states. And by the way, those taxes in those states, they will go up effectively if now there's a $40,000, and they won't probably go up to take care of the whole thing, but they will go up.
Yeah, if you subsidize tax increases, you'll get more of them, and that's what we're going to do.
That is exactly what we're doing. So it's a ridiculous thing, too. I like the notion of cutting taxes. By the way, I don't like the notion of cutting taxes on tips. It's the only tax cut that I don't love, because in the service industry, it's one of the last bastions of cash as a means of exchange. And I think if you take away that incentive, you move us a step closer to some central bank digitized currency where they can watch every one of our transactions. So I'm kind of bummed by that a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
No.
That's going to be part of it, to be sure. It already passed out of the Senate, so that's going to get unanimously, no less. So that'll be part of whatever's reconciled between the two chambers. I want to get your reaction to something else too, just because it speaks to our long-term relationship with Europe. This piece in the Wall Street Journal about the tech industry is big, but Europe is a very small part of this big industry. The summary: Europe lacks any homegrown alternatives to the likes of Google, Amazon, or Meta. Apple's market value is bigger than the entire German stock market. The continent's inability to create more big technology firms is seen as one of its biggest challenges, and a major reason why its economies are stagnating. Investors and entrepreneurs say obstacles to tech growth are deeply entrenched, a timid and risk-averse business culture, strict labor laws, suffocating regulations, a smaller pool of venture capital, and lackluster economic and demographic growth. Europe is trending towards developing world status, the way this story about their tech sector reads.
Since I'm pulling out the quote again, which I can't remember who said this quote. So if I can't remember for a year, then I'm giving myself credit for it.
Nice.
But the quote is that Europe is a museum, Japan is an old folks' home, and China is a prison, leaving the United States to be the last great alternative, and it still is. Europe. There was I think it was a tire. This is about 10 years ago, and in the Wall Street Journal there was a letter written by a CEO. Someone from France someone in their administration had reached out to him about building a factory in France, and he wrote this scathing letter about the French culture, about the regulations, about every hoop you had to jump through, and he was like, "Believe me, there was never any situation where I would bring manufacturing to France or any other European country. I wish I could pinpoint who the guy was, but it's absolutely correct. We think we're a regulatory nightmare. You go to Europe, and it's completely out of control. I think they are just going to live the rest of their next 100 years just on being a tourist destination to talk about how things were 2,000 years ago.
The epitaph of the EU. Jim Urio, host of the Future's Edge podcast, special contributor Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, and the proprietor of Brandt's Restaurant in Palatine. Is going to have some unhappy waitstaff when they hear about your opposition to tax on tips. I'll tell you that right now. Jim Urio, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Zeke, self-employed, called to refinance his $1 million home after being rejected by 3 lenders. Zeke contacted me after hearing me explain how I helped another self-employed listener who was also rejected due to lack of income. I helped Zeke secure an $800,000 cash-out refinance using the 12-month average of Zeke's business bank statements. Let's review. Zeke called to refinance his home after being rejected by 3 lenders, and we helped Zeke refinance using the deposits into his business bank statements. If you're self-employed and want to work with mortgage professionals who understand self-employed borrowers, call Team Hochberg at 855-563-2843 or visit 56steven.com. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of self-employed listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 and that website you love, 56steven.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets. Any size and any color, just $49.98. That's right, you can even get queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings. Any size and any color, just $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, they're gone. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. Call 800-489-0201. Use promo code LIBERTY or go to MyPillow.com. Make sure you use the promo code LIBERTY for the amazing offer of $49.98 on the Giza Dreams sheets, any size and any color. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Former Glenbard South history teacher Matt Janisk joins us, 7:07.
It's 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Can House Republicans unite? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That remains in question the morning after President Trump went to the Capitol, urging them to approve what he calls one big, beautiful budget bill to fund his agenda and extend the 2017 tax cuts.
This bill will pass out of Rules Committee. Now, will it pass on the floor is another question.
GOP Congressman Ralph Norman tells Fox Business one resolved issue is SALT, the cap on state and local tax deductions for income tax returns that blue state Republicans demand be lifted from $10,000 now.
You know, they raised it to $40,000, and it's got a cost that's, as of now, has not been paid for.
Now, some Republicans keep pushing for more spending cuts in the bill. Democrats warn they'll slash key programs for taking health coverage and food assistance from some Americans. The bill would also fund President Trump's new defense system.
Once fully operational, President Trump says the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles fired from around the world or launched from space.
It's a pretty evil world out there, so this is something that goes a long way toward the survival of this great country.
He says the full project will total $175 billion and be operational in about 3 years.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House, where President Trump will meet today with South Africa's president, and it could get tense. The U.S. has canceled aid to South Africa, expelled its ambassador, and then flew white minority South African refugees to the U.S., which led to this back and forth at a hearing yesterday between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Democratic Senator Tim Kaine.
You don't like the fact that they're white, and that's why they're coming.
Say that would be unacceptable.
Well, no,
that
I would say that the United States,
a very easy thing.
The United States has a right to pick and choose who they allow into the United States,
even based on the color of somebody's skin.
You're the one that's talking about the color of their skin, not me. These are people whose farms were being burned down and they were killed because of the color of their skin.
Rubio has another hearing in the House today. Another escapee captured in Louisiana after Friday's jailbreak, but the manhunt continues for 5 more prisoners still on the run. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 52 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Mayor Johnson's firing back after the Department of Justice announced a civil rights investigation in 2 City Hall hirings. Mayor Johnson spoke at a Southside church on Sunday, boasting about how many African Americans he had in leadership positions. The mayor reacted yesterday by saying he's proud that his camp is the most diverse administration in Chicago history. The federal government is also suing Chicago over its sanctuary city policies. Chicago aldermen could vote today on a proposed SNAP curfew for minors downtown. Alderman Brian Hopkins says that the call for the curfew was driven from the beginning by the Chicago Police Department.
The leadership of Superintendent Snelling, his team, that have had the very difficult challenge of trying to intervene when you have 200, even 300 young teenagers taking over a street or a park.
The Public Safety Committee voted yesterday to approve a proposal that would give the Chicago Police Superintendent and Deputy Mayor the ability to suddenly call a curfew in the event of a large teen gathering. The ordinance was in response to a large number of teen takeovers that led to violence in downtown. If approved, supporters are hoping to have it implemented in time for summer. Senator Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth are demanding answers from a California-based health system that recently bought 8 Illinois hospitals. The 2 senators sent a letter to Prime Healthcare asking why they decided to suspend or terminate pediatric trauma and maternity care services at some of the hospitals. They urged Prime to immediately reconsider these decisions since they could strip patients of critical and specialized care. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-973-9819. And you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9819. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9819 now to secure your $10 gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-973-9819.
So, what'd you call me over here to see, buddy?
Well, wait till you see the new set of wheels
Whoa, would you look at this garage floor? Wow, buddy, is this a new coating?
Well, yeah, but...
It's so smooth and shiny. It looks like a showroom in here. Wow, looks easy to keep nice and clean, too.
Yeah, it is, but...
Man, I've been thinking about getting a new coating. This is a sweet-looking garage floor.
You happen to notice my new Corvette?
Oh, huh. That's cool, too.
Level 10 Coatings, Chicagoland's premier concrete coatings company. We can improve the look of your garage, basement, office, or outdoor space with customized concrete coating solutions. As Chicagoland's only certified Cimarron installer, we're setting industry standards. Level 10 Coatings uses polyurea and polyaspartic coating, which is stronger than epoxy. Turn your ugly garage floor into a showroom floor this spring. Mention Amy Jacobson to receive $500 off any new project. Visit level10coatings.com to schedule today or call 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
In 2012, the Journal of Cognition and Emotion published a study that showed that we make a decision to trust a person within 100 milliseconds of seeing their face. Making a good first impression has never been more important, and you can make that positive impression with a professional headshot from Tom Killoran Photography. Whether you're a job seeker trying to land your next position, or you're looking to build your business by connecting with prospective clients and customers, you need a high-quality headshot to use with your resume, portfolio, website, or other marketing materials. The experts at Tom Killoran Photography can work with you to capture the exact look you need for your professional presentation. Tom Killoran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see a sample of their work, just visit KilloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com, or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Killoran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 20 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 27 minutes. Outbound, about 45 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 32 minutes. Outbound, 27 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 38 minutes. Outbound, about 21 minutes. And on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound, 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy rain and drizzle today, the high 53. Some off and on rain and drizzle tonight, low 47. Passing shower for tomorrow morning, otherwise a cloudy day, high 57. And then clouds and cool on Friday, the high Friday at 61. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Glenbrook South. Glenbrook South lost their Turning Point USA chapter. They posted this flyer that has a picture that I guess that's taken from a popular video game called Among Us. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. I guess it's a video game where you try to identify the enemy or something. Anyway, the picture from that's essentially ripped from that video game, as I understand it, with a hammer and sickle on it, and the caption, "China kinda sus," like suspicious.
Yeah.
That drew the ire of two neo-Marxist members of the Illinois General Assembly on the North Shore there. Two Illinois Stasi. State Representative Jennifer Gong Gershowitz and
of course she has a hyphenated name.
State Senator Laura Fine. That's positively Dickensian. The irony. The clear intent of this flyer was to stoke xenophobic and anti-Asian sentiment, said Gon Gershowitz. She and her gal pal, contacted by constituents in an Asian organization from across Illinois, upset and offended by the poster. Following up to see, have those kids at Glenbrook South been, properly re-educated yet? They issued a letter to the community discussing a meeting they had with the educrat in charge of Glenbrook 225, some eunuch named Charles Johns. We expressed our conviction that this racist, harmful sort of content must not be permitted at a time when anti-Asian racism and hate crimes are being committed at a disturbing frequency.
Oh,
we must come together as a community in support of the values outlined in Glenbrook South's mission statement. Oh, I'm sure those high-minded values are lived out to the spirit of the language. By the way, is there any time in which hate crimes are not committed at a disturbing frequency? That they're committed at an appropriate frequency? These are just phrases that the lobotomized left use. They don't know what they mean. They sound properly indignant and urgent, but they're meaningless. The Johns, that eunuch superintendent in charge of Glenbrook Schools 225, committed to taking several important steps toward healing. Let the healing begin from this incident, as well as preventing similar ones in the future.
What students are injured?
Hands are going to be lopped off at Glenbrook South to prevent posters from being made in the future. Upon learning of the context of the poster, Glenbrook South's chapter of Turning Point USA submitted. It was taken down. It was not in compliance with our policies and guidelines, according to the administrators, an Orwellian group. During the course of the investigation, the sponsor elected to discontinue his sponsorship, and district policies require there be a sponsor for all active clubs. So, right, you threaten the teacher to stop the sponsorship of the chapter and threaten the students from expressing themselves, because, of course, you can't be critical of the Chinese Communist Party and their Uyghur slave camps, for example. Tiananmen Square, anybody? You can't be critical of the Chinese Communist Party without expressing anti-Asian sentiment, according to these two state legislators who preside over the worst governed state in the history of America. And by the way, the state of our wonderful government schools in the wealthy honky suburbs, like Glenbrook South, which is, in Glenview, and Northbrook, which are two members of the Union of Soviet Socialist Honky Suburbs, the USSHS, along with Evanston, Oak Park, River Forest. You know the drill. For more on the state of government K through 12, somebody who formerly taught at one of those schools in the USSHS suburb, former Glenbrook South history teacher, founder of Mr. J-USA, MrJ-USA.com, online teaching. Matthew Janisk joins us. Matthew Janisk, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan and Amy, real good to be back with you.
But before we get into this and other related matters, just refresh people's recollection. It's been a minute since you've been on with us. Refresh people's recollection of your experience at Glenbard South, before we get to Glenbrook South. Glenbard South, teaching history there for 2 decades, as you did.
Yeah, no problem. Started at Glenbard North, actually in 2001, and taught there for about 17 years, and then moved over to South because of the same things you guys were talking about right there. And moved over to South, thought things might get better, didn't really get better. The indoctrination camps are, in full swing. So ultimately I left and just resigned amid all that. And I saw the writing on the wall coming, so I started my own online deal. And I've been busy with that ever since and happy as a clam.
Well, and how has that gone? I mean, some notoriety when you left Glenbard South because you were willing to be outspoken about the teachers' unions and some of these administrators and the indoctrination that was afoot in schools like the Glenbard schools. And I mean, when you say things are going well with MrJ-USA.com, this is people fleeing things indoctrination camps, even if they may be going there because they need the credential, but they're fleeing to actually learn things like U.S. history.
When you were just telling your great story right there, it's kind of like I felt like I was back in the Matrix and looking at a board or a school board or a panel of assistant principals, a labyrinth of insanity in front of you. And I'm looking at them in bewilderment that they're standing by things that are completely, like you said, Marxist, communist nonsense. And that's just not well received anymore. You're not allowed to discuss those kinds of things in the paradigm that you're in right now. So I just didn't want to play in that sandbox anymore. And, and now, one great example, I just had a class of 3 Chinese kids in America that were taking the AP U.S. history test. And I would ask them, hey, guys, what is your teacher talking about amidst all the interesting stuff that's happening in the world right now? And to a kid, they're like, nobody talks about anything, Mr. J. They don't ever bring up anything that's connected to the present.
Wow.
And by that you mean they just go back and talk about America being the systemically racist country and with an obsession on slavery as the original sin and the only thing worth talking about, and how the tentacles of slavery's impact reach to the present, and why reparations are necessary, and just that's sort of myopia about America. Is that what you're suggesting?
I think there's going to be part of that definitely by default, but I don't know what's worse. They're just going to follow exactly what's in the book. Whatever the government-approved book tells them happened is what they're going to regurgitate. And it is a test-based apparatus, get kids to get a 4 or 5 or 3 on the AP exam so they can get college credit and just continue to move right through the matrix.
So it's Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States, and then you vomit that up on the AP exam and you get your college credit and you move on.
I think that definitely is a safe path to take. I always tell those guys, hey, you're going to be writing these exams in the essays, so know who's going to be evaluating your essay.
Yeah. Well, how did you teach history, and did you talk about, real world events? And do you think maybe they're not talking about it because Trump's president right now?
Oh, that's 100% correct. I didn't see the culture really change on a dime until 2016. As soon as he got elected, public education, there were teachers, I think I mentioned to you guys last time, they were crying in the hallway the first time he was elected. So everybody was turned upside down. I continued to teach the way, in a way I always had. Of course, it morphed a little bit as I learned more things about history and really the power of money. And that ties right into the education paradigm, too. Money makes the world go round. And as soon as you follow the traces of the roots of historical money, you pretty much get the power. And that's always been a priority with me, is have kids understand the pyramid of power. Who's on top around the world, and how did they get there? How do they maintain it? Why are they doing it that way? And when have people resisted that throughout history? These patterns are all over the place and actually clearly seen through history, but we repeat ourselves all the time because we just don't learn it correctly,
Well, but it's not. This predates Trump. It's so much bigger than Trump. Trump may have been an accelerant, but it's this is ideological, and and it continues in all sorts of forms that you thought would be passé at this point. Some people did, not me. Like, for example, last week, the announcement that the Palo Alto schools, Silicon Valley, rich, intelligent, technically proficient, are doing away with their advanced classes because, feelings.
Yeah, it's scary. Now, you mentioned just a second ago that this has been going on a long time. I don't want to give like a history lesson, but at the end of the day, when you work all the way back to the turn of the century, 18 to 1900, you're talking about the Marxist movement, and they did get here. Joe McCarthy in the 50s really wasn't that far off. And, You know, I teach history a smidge different today. I often say, like, hey, guys, when people get assassinated or assassination attempts take place, it's kind of important to go trace the roots of that. And let's look at all the people who've been assassinated or taken out or died mysterious deaths early. And basically, you get to a lot of the people that are trying to run obstacles to what you're talking about right now.
But enough about the Clinton family.
Yeah.
So what about Glenbrook South? This example I led our conversation off with, and these legislators intervening to litigate a poster at a high school from some student group. I mean, that is very Mao or very Soviet. Yeah. And I just wonder, how, particularly in the great, quote unquote, government schools in our leafy suburbs, how pervasive are examples like that Glenbrook South story, do you think?
I think it's worse than you say, because it's kind of like a lot of the participants are unwilling. They don't understand the divide and conquer scheme of Marxism, the left-right paradigm. Put people in camps, put them in groups, black, white, Jew, Christian, Muslim, it doesn't matter. Whatever group you want to put people in, and then keep them divided and arguing and amongst themselves over nonsense. And that system is global, and it's just look at Comintern International back in the day. They want that system. They want divide and conquer. And, you used to teach, one of the ways I changed is we used to teach the political paradigm as a left and right paradigm, but that's actually inaccurate. It's more about zero power on one end for government and 100% power on the other end. And our republic is somewhere, toward the freedom side. We have laws that we follow, but at the end of the day, even the political system is taught incorrectly by the system to keep people divided.
Yeah,
and I think that's
a good observation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also to the quality of your students over time, including to the present, as you have sort of a selective enrollment engagement at this point. Because we see this from test scores, the NAEP reading and math proficiency scores, and despite a exponential increase in spend. I mean, Illinois, 2 million kids in K through 12, and you have basically a third doing reading at grade level and a little less than a third doing math at grade level, including in all of these wonderful schools in the rich white suburbs. The numbers are not providing much evidence of an ROI.
No, they don't. The system doesn't teach the big three. I call them the 3 F's, but it's funny. But philosophy, faith, and finance. They don't teach any of those 3 in the public school anymore. And that divide and conquer scheme, when you look at a curriculum in a traditional suburban high school system like you're talking about, they divide courses into camps. And, you have your 5 or 6 classes a day. You very, very rarely see any interrelationship between the programs. But when I'm teaching my kids now, we dig deep into philosophy, its origins. We do the Socratic method. We study the origins of all faiths and look at what they believe and portend, and then what is extremism and inside their faith. We look to study, like I said earlier, the financial aspect of global power. And these are the things that, I think open-minded, really curious people that realize the world around them is not what they were told, is bringing people away from the system, whether they supplement with a system like mine or whether they remove themselves entirely. It's very difficult to unplug from this matrix in a holistic way, all at one time. Yeah.
So who are you getting? A lot of asylum seekers from government K through 12 schools that at least want to bolt on, or who are your students these days?
Yeah. Well, great. I have about a handful of American-based students who basically are a few of those that have withdrawn entirely, and then some of them are Christian-based operations. There's a program I'm a part of now called Equip 210, and that's a digital online curriculum, Christian-based. And then my Chinese classes, where I have students from all over the world. I'll be teaching one coming up here with Chinese kids in Germany. That'll be interesting. But the kids in China, all those kids, they're basically the children of the privileged or upper classes. Who take their English-speaking schools over there. They take their standard curriculum, but they also know it's not maybe up to par because a lot of those Chinese parents went to college in the States here, and a lot of them went to some high-end schools. So they have an awareness of what their kids' education is supposed to be, so they look to supplement online with things like my classes. And we open up. I'm teaching the things I talked about with you guys, philosophy, faith, and finance, to second and third graders in China. I use PowerPoint and reading. We don't do, we don't waste time with the nonsense, the fluff, the Marxist we don't waste time with any of that. We get right into the stuff, and we connect past the present, and we have a discussion Socratically for an hour, and then I see him next week, and we go through that process again. And it's the most rewarding thing that I have ever done educationally, and it's so crazy, guys. My boss or the woman who finds me all of these classes and kids, they thank me after all classes. They think what I'm doing is marvelous,
Yeah.
And here I'm crucified for it.
Yeah, right. No, I get you're right. You when you're getting value, that's why I thank my Pilates instructor after every session. You're getting value for it, right? It's not fun, but you're getting value. You're getting value for it. By the way, you're in Texas now, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And
right in the middle.
Where?
Right in the Lampasas, Texas. It's a town of about 8,000 people. Right in the middle, about an hour 20 northwest of Austin.
And George Strait's guitar player is your church's pastor?
Yeah, this is a very special community. I just had lunch and talked with him a lot yesterday. He is not only is he a beautiful, humble individual who's been a musician his whole life. He spent the last 10 years, though, in the ministry, but also playing. And he's very quiet and humble about that, but he is. And he's played with some of the best: Ricky Skaggs, Merle Haggard, Leanne Womack, George, you name it. He's Randy Travis, and so many great artists and people. And this whole area I'm in is surrounded by spiritual people. Even if they don't all agree politically, it's different here. And what I've noticed is your friends don't ostracise you here if you think differently.
Must be nice.
In Illinois, I wish I could say it was different in Illinois, but it's not. Or, I wish I could say it's the same, but
ostracized by your community. Yes,
Yeah.
a chapter in the book.
So does he play All My Exes Live in Texas for his processional at the beginning of Mass?
No, it doesn't go there. But I do get to play in the church band every weekend, and that is a hoot. And when he's playing solos over songs that God helped me write, it's a blessing.
That's great. Matthew Janisk, former Glenbard South history teacher. Hey, Glenbard South families, do you miss Matthew Janisk? You should. Founder of Mr. J-USA.com online teaching. Matthew, good to talk to you again. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
You guys, take care.
You too. Yep, and thank you so much. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, Amy Jacobson here. With the crime we're seeing in Illinois, I know how important it is to keep my home and my family safe. That's why I chose Goldilocks for my home security. One of their awesome technicians just came over and gave me a free assessment of my home. They found vulnerabilities that intruders typically look for and created a personalized plan for me. Goldilocks offers state-of-the-art smart home security systems with HD cameras, motion detectors, smart locks, mobile notifications. As you know, crime in Illinois is out of control, and I'll sleep easier knowing that Goldilocks has my back. They even offer commercial security systems for any size business. Tell them Amy Jacobson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months of monitoring for free with any new install. Call Goldilocks today at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com. That's GoldilocksInc.com.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-founders of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Here, are what some Virago users have to say.
I started using Virago a little more than a year ago. I have 3 school-age kids, and they are constantly bringing home whatever bug is going around school, whether it's a cold, a sore throat, whatever it is. Everyone in the house was getting sick. I started taking Virago to help boost my immune system, and it worked. I haven't been sick since starting Virago. I use just a half a dose daily unless I feel like I'm getting something. Then I'll take a full dose for a day or 2, and I'm fine. I also feel great and more on top of my game, like my memory is sharper. I'm not forgetting things. I absolutely recommend Virago.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirogo.com.
And use promo code IMMUNE to get 30% off.
That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, Secretary of State Marco Rubio spars with some of his former Senate colleagues over immigration, deportation, and, the arrest of MacGyver. 7:37.
And then later, getting ready for cigar night. But now let's head into the newsroom, and here are the headlines.
Good morning. It's 52 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The No Tax on Tips Act is moving on to the House after it passed unanimously in the Senate Tuesday.
Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada called for immediate passage of the bipartisan bill, and there were no GOP objections. The bill establishes a new tax deduction of up to $25,000 for tips. Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas introduced the No Tax on Tips Act earlier this year. President Trump floated the idea during his campaign, and Democrats also supported it. Eliminating taxes on tips is also expected to be included in the House GOP's mega bill. I'm Mark Mayfield.
President Trump wants to have a Golden Dome defense system up and running in about 3 years. He outlined his plans for the missile defense system in an announcement from the Oval Office alongside Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The Golden Dome is the president's vision for a cutting-edge missile shield that can protect the U.S. from long-range strikes. The president said the final price tag for the system will be around $175 billion. News is a service of Anthony DeGrotto, your Chicagoland State Farm agent. His team will work to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Like a good neighbor, Anthony DeGrotto State Farm is there. DeGrottoSF.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy. Pretty much hands off, They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask like 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Spring, a time to get outside, be active, play with the grandkids, enjoy life. But if high blood pressure is holding you back, the sooner you get control of it, the sooner you'll stop being a walking time bomb. High blood pressure is a serious issue. Your blood vessels are constricted, your mortality risk is high. So what can you do besides take medications with side effects? Well, there's a delicious juice that can help bring your numbers back down. It's called 120 Life, and it has natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Yes, a superfood juice is showing amazing results for high blood pressure without the side effects of big pharma medication. Try 120 Life risk-free now with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout for 15% off.
Active Liver is the easy way to get a daily detox to keep you healthy and feeling your best. Find Active Liver at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
From the Team Hawkford Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 20 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 27 minutes. Outbound, about 45 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 32 minutes. Outbound, 27 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 38 minutes. Outbound, about 21 minutes. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. What will you find at Macy's Backstage? How about essential warm weather styles, just $30 and under, like dresses, shoes, and bags, men's and even kids' looks. Find the latest trends, new arrivals, and great prices at a Macy's Backstage store near you. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy, cool day, some rain and drizzle. High today 53. Off and on rain and drizzle for tonight, low 47. Passing shower tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy, high 57. And then clouds remaining cool on Friday, high Friday at 61. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Former Senator, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, had some friendly exchanges with his former colleagues, testifying on a range of matters, including the administration's policy with respect to illegal immigration on multiple levels. It led to this exchange of bon mots between Rubio and Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, who you remember is in a long-distance relationship with Abrego Garcia.
They're pen pals, but I think it's leading to something more because they did have margaritas together, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then
romance, man.
And Chris Van Hollen said, well, like every other weekend, you come back to Maryland, and I'll come down to El Salvador.
And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job based on what I know.
Well, that's just a flippant statement, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, well, saying that you regret your vote isn't a flippant statement. Rubio and Tim Kaine, he was able to find the one group of asylum seekers that suburban dad on the download, Tim Kaine, and his colleagues do oppose allowing into America. And that would, of course, be South African farmers who are being targeted for assassination by the
communists in charge of South Africa.
I'm going to ask you, so a well-justified fear of persecution?
Yeah, they thought that their farms were being burned down and they would be killed. I think that's a pretty good justification for wanting to come. They're afraid for their lives.
And should it be applied in an even-handed way? That's an easy.
No, our foreign policy doesn't require even-handedness. It requires prioritizing the interests of the United States.
The phrase says you are entitled to entrance as a refugee if you demonstrate a well-justified fear of persecution.
No, you're not entitled.
So can you have a different standard based upon the color of somebody's skin? Would that be acceptable?
Well, I'm not the one arguing that. Apparently you are, because you don't like the fact that they're white, and that's why they're coming.
I'm just asking you to say that would be unacceptable.
Well, no,
I
would say that the United States,
a very easy thing to say.
The United States has a right to pick and choose who they allow into the United States.
Even based on the color of somebody's skin.
You're the one that's talking about the color of their skin, not me. These are people whose farms were being burned down and they were killed because of the color of their skin. Well, you've demonstrated enough because you think anyone should be allowed into this country for any reason because they met a certain criteria.
Who has said that?
We are going to prioritize people that come into our country on the basis of what's in the interest of this country. That's a small number of people that are coming.
But you said this weekend that there would be more.
But in other cases, it's harder to vet. In other cases, it's more difficult.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. That was a nice exchange because it really provides some clarity in terms of the position of the two parties, or at least the administration and the Open Borders neo-Marxist party. It's very subtle, but it's important how Tim Kaine, for example, conflates the terms entitled and allowed. The point that Marco Rubio made is a very important one, that the law provides for the opportunity to enter into this country as a legitimate asylum seeker and be granted asylum. It doesn't guarantee it. America gets to pick and choose who enters the country, the federal government does specifically,
right,
based on what is in America's interests within the confines of the Constitution and statutory law. This is a revelation to people like Tim McCain, who, as I think Rubio correctly described, believe that anybody can come here for any reason on their own terms at their leisure.
Yeah, I mean, those 59 Afrikaners applied for refugee status from South Africa and entered through the U.S. through a legal port of entry, fleeing a government that was seizing their land and, inciting their murders based on their race.
The other thing I would have said in response to, and would say in response to Tim Kaine, we're providing asylum for 6 farmers from South Africa who are being targeted for political assassination, effectively, in addition to having their lands expropriated, which they've essentially conceded by fleeing to come to this country. But I'll tell you what, it'd be really interesting if you would be as concerned about the safety of American citizens as you are, like real American citizens, as you are about theoretical individuals that are also fleeing their countries because they are under some duress, they are under some threat of political violence. Remember, you focus on South African farmers who we've granted sanctuary to, granted asylum through the legal process, because we are in the interest of trying to save lives where we can, and where it's consistent with America's interests, because you can't do everything for everybody at the same time. Not in a world of 8 billion people. It's just not realistic, unfortunately. Can't wave a wand. That's why you have to have processes. But, oh, by the way, back home, Senator Kaine, would you like to talk about, I don't know, the life and times, I should say, of 24-year-old Caitlin Weaver? Just another story that the neo-Marxist party has no interest in. When do you ever hear them talk about the American families who have suffered as a result of the policies pursued by people like Tim Kaine and the resultant predators that have been allowed in this country to prey on Americans like Caitlin Weaver? What do you have to say, Senator Kaine, to John Weaver, Caitlin's dad?
She really spent her life wanting to help people.
John Weaver says his daughter Caitlin was a born caregiver, protective and supportive of siblings and strangers alike. A psychology major, she worked for a suicide hotline before taking a job at a drug rehab center in Aurora. It was there, her dad says, she found her calling in life.
She was really trying to make a difference in their lives every day.
It was after one of those days last July, as she drove home, her boyfriend on speaker, a nearby Ring camera recording. Caitlin Weaver was killed by a Jeep barreling through a residential neighborhood, the speed limit 45. The driver, investigators say, was doing more than 90.
She didn't even see him coming. That's how fast he was going. She was effectively killed instantly.
Michelle and John Weaver removed their daughter from life support 2 days later.
How do you fathom that loss?
She was 24. The suspect, who had kids in the car with him, was 15. He was not only driving illegally, he was in the country illegally.
DA's office said that this would be a no plea deal case, so they were not going to offer anything, any concession.
That changed, he says, when the Arapahoe County District Attorney's Office changed hands a few months later. Under DA Amy Padden, the teen, who faced up to 2 years in youth corrections for vehicular homicide, was offered 2 years probation if he pled guilty.
Why the change? If he had taken a firearm and recklessly just shot it and killed somebody, this would be a different case. They would be pushing it completely different. So there's no deterrence.
No financial liability either, despite nearly $1 million in medical bills. The Jeep was uninsured, and the juvenile's mom says he took it without permission, so she isn't responsible either.
Immigration and the criminal justice system and all these things landed together one day in Aurora, and now I sit here today without a daughter.
An organ donor, Caitlin Weaver, continues to live on in others, while the person who killed her lives free. Investigators say his mom initially planned to move him back to Colombia. He has now filed for asylum.
I hope that he makes something of himself and that he remembers the chance he got.
So, Tim Kaine, would you support the asylum application of this 15-year-old who killed Caitlin Weaver in Aurora, Colorado? Is that who our asylum law should protect? We tell these stories so people listen to the show can retell these stories and put the question to people who blithely go along with this lunacy. You understand, right? There, but for the grace of God, goes you and your family. You could be in the same situation as John Weaver. You can be in the same situation as Joe Abraham in Glenview because of what you support. And when that happens to you or someone you care about, as we say all the time, it's the same thing with indigenous crime and the Safety Act, for example, in this state. Then when it happens to you, you're going to say what? Frank in Tinley Park.
Yes, about the South African problem. I remember seeing that story 15, 20 years ago on 60 Minutes. It showed the farmers that it was the first time I ever saw a car with the propane fire shooters on the sides of the doors. It's nothing new.
Well, it's nothing new. I think 20 years ago it was Zimbabwe and Robert Mugabe who ran the same program, and now it's communists in South Africa running the program. But yeah, I mean, it's right. It's nothing new. The civil wars and conflict and corruption in Africa writ large is nothing new. And without getting into the whole relationship of America and African countries and international aid organizations and governmental bodies and so forth, and what a disservice it's been to the Dark Continent. But yes, it's nothing new. David in Lansing.
Good morning. I have a Secretary of State Illinois Rules of the Road book, and on page 4, it says, effective July 1st, 2024, temporary visitor's driver's licenses will no longer be issued. Applicants.
Yeah, no, you've called in on this before. So the upshot is what?
But, Illinois is encouraging aliens coming to Illinois to get a regular's driver's license. It says it right in the book.
Yes.
And
yeah, we know.
Yes.
So it's not...
Call Ali G. He wants to be mayor of Chicago. Call Ali G., your Secretary of State.
Don't interrupt him while he's working.
See what he has to say about it. Yeah. Well, not while he's working out, of course.
Yeah, no, because he's got to post. He's got to post on social media.
Yeah. After his hot yoga class, give him a call.
I don't see anything in the book about learning English in here.
No. Thanks for the call, David. No. You have to go to England if you want an English requirement. Speaking the language requirement. England trying to salvage itself after it's much too late. We're trying to prevent being put in that position. Although I tell you, it was surprising to hear BLM Brandon on Wilmette talking to Winnetka the other night, saying how the governor of Texas unleashed an invasion.
Oh, you're still going with that?
Unleashed an invasion of people to come to Chicago. An invasion, I mean, that seems like it would be a burden rather than an opportunity to live your values, because that's who we are, people who live their values.
Mm-hmm. And yesterday he doubled down on this DOJ investigation. Summing it up, I mean, this is so typical.
My administration reflects the country, it reflects the city. His administration reflects the country club.
Get it? His as in Trump.
But what's clear is that not only does the Trump administration not respect the rule of law or what's sensible about our society, you would be hard-pressed to find qualified individuals who are in his administration.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And these are the politicians that provide illegal cover, as opposed to legal asylum, illegal cover to people in this country who are predators, who exhibit reckless disregard for other people's lives, as that 15-year-old in Aurora, Colorado. I know it's just a couple of buildings that Tren de Aragua took over, not a big deal. Also, we have this out of South Carolina, 41-year-old. I think he's Venezuelan. He's now on an ICE detainer. And the reason why?
A woman who was stabbed to death by her partner was pregnant. Officers responded to a home in Iris Circle Friday night and found 37-year-old Leonor Alpizar with multiple stab wounds. She died at the hospital, and officers have identified Pedro Mondragon Ramirez as a suspect, and they say the stabbing stemmed from a relationship quarrel. Mondragon Ramirez was initially charged with murder, but after learning the victim was pregnant, officials recently issued another charge of death or injury of a child in utero due to the commission of a violent crime. Suspect is currently being held in Charlotte as a fugitive from South Carolina.
And on an ICE detainer, the local network affiliate news forgot to mention, in this country illegally. In Ohio, 24-year-old Venezuelan must have seen an old episode of 21 Jump Street. He was pretending to be a 16-year-old student at an Ohio high school.
Oh, really?
He convinced two adult legal guardians who he was living with that he was a 16-year-old high school kid, and they found out that he was not, and ultimately authorities have interceded now. But I mean, just in terms of, all the layers of scams that are being run by people, some who present public safety threats, some who do not, but all who represent a burden that has been imposed on otherwise law-abiding American citizens.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
I'm a numerologist. What's your favorite number?
48. Because right now at Hasselus Mattress, you get 48 months interest-free financing on all Tempur-Pedic and Beautyrest Black mattresses.
The number 48 is associated with stability.
Like the stability and comfort of Tempur-Pedic.
Abundance.
Like the abundance of sleep you'll get with a Beautyrest Black mattress from Hasselus.
Prosperity and wealth.
Because you get a $300 MasterCard gift card with your purchase.
The number 48 is a sign that you have chosen the right path in life.
Just like choosing your favorite Tempur-Pedic or Beautyrest Black mattress at Hasselus without commission-hungry salespeople breathing down your neck.
Really?
Yes.
Do you deliver?
Free next-day delivery.
I think 48 may be my favorite number, too.
Enjoy 48 months interest-free financing on Tempur-Pedic and Beautyrest Black at Hasselus Mattress. Find your employee-free Chicagoland showroom at hasselus.com.
Is George Hoffman buying Pope Leo XIV's house in Dalton? He's a Dalton native.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Him and Richard Roper and Susan Carlson.
Hoffman was the last honky out, I think.
Yeah, no, they're the government, the city of Dalton's taking it over.
Well,
but it can't be used as a landmark status. It's eminent domain. So that poor homeowner who just rehabbed the insides now is screwed.
Well, they said they could eminent domain if they can't come to terms with the owner, but I'm sure they're eminent domaining it to make it a museum or something.
But they can't have a museum in a residential neighborhood according to the zoning policy, which I've studied very closely.
You can also do a variance and change the zoning.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that complicated. And it'd be great because it would make Dalton even more of a tourism mecca than it is now.
Yeah, exactly.
Is George going to buy it? Are you going to buy it?
George, are you
No,
in?
but I will take the blame and or credit for the housing prices.
Well, maybe what's the...
They're asking $190,000.
Yeah, right.
That's
the block?
No,
for the
that house.
Yeah, right.
You should see the inside. He redid the kitchen, the bathroom.
Yeah, no.
It's beautiful. And then somebody had to go and become Pope.
Yeah, pay no
Poor
attention
guy's
to the
screwed.
$19,000 property tax bill. George, maybe you could become a docent at that museum when they make it a museum.
That's right.
They can't afford me to go back to Dalton.
Spring is here, gentlemen. Time for gatherings with friends, family, and outdoor activities. But how are you going to keep up if low testosterone is draining your energy? The answer, TRT with Synergen X and Low T Center. They might seem convenient, but many online TRT services can be a hassle to get started. You end up spending hundreds of dollars and wasting time, so don't fall for it. Trust the experts at Synergen X and Low T Center. That's who I trust. They've been changing patients' lives for a combined 25 years. They understand what guys need. They're in person, and they make it easy to get started. You can start today with a free consultation and free testosterone test. Best thing about it, it's free and fast. They have on-site labs to process your tests quickly, and if you qualify, you can start treatment that day. They have locations across Chicagoland. And for guys looking to lose a few pounds, Synergen X and Low T Center make it easy with prescription weight loss medications. They do accept most major insurance, so you have no excuse. Offer is limited, so go right now to fixmylowt.com to book your appointment. That website again, listen up, fixmylowt.com. You'll be glad you did.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we'll talk Big Beautiful Bill with the Hayride Scott McKay, and we'll get to remembering Norm Peterson in the 8 o'clock hour as well.
But now it's 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
It's day 6 of the manhunt for escaped prisoners in Louisiana. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We continue to develop credible leads on all of these individuals.
State Attorney General Liz Muriel also tells Fox
they've been very methodical and they are effectively, gathering people up. We're about halfway there.
After the 5th of the 10 escapees was captured last night.
It happened just outside the French Quarter where we are this morning as 19-year-old Corey Boyd was taken into custody at a housing development. Boyd was originally held for second-degree murder, aggravated battery, and threatening a public official.
Fox's Nate Foy in New Orleans. They all broke out early Friday. A jail maintenance worker is charged with helping them escape. A congressman has died. Democrat Jerry Connolly from Virginia, who had recently announced he wouldn't be running for re-election as he battled cancer. Connolly was 75. In the House now, the Rules Committee's been working since 1 a.m. trying to finalize that massive budget plan President Trump calls one big, beautiful bill.
We're trying to get everything done so that we have the possibility of a vote tonight or tomorrow.
Republican Congressman Morgan Griffith says not everyone in the GOP is united yet, like President Trump's urging them to be. As the bill would fund his agenda, extending the 2017 tax cuts, Democrats say that'll benefit the wealthy in a bill they claim will take health coverage and food assistance away from poorer Americans. Israel went on the attack again overnight with airstrikes targeting Hamas. The Palestinians say killed at least 45 people in Gaza, where the living conditions are a big concern for Pope Leo XIV, appealing for more humanitarian aid today. In his first general audience of about 40,000 people there in St. Peter's Square,
he said the devastating price of the war was being paid by children, the elderly and the sick. After an 11-week blockade, Israel says it will allow basic amounts of food to enter Gaza. According to the UN, as of yesterday, nothing had reached those in need.
Jonathan Savage, America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 53 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The village of Dalton is planning to buy Pope Leo XIV's childhood home. The village attorney says they intend to purchase the house on 212 East 141st Place, either direct purchase or through eminent domain powers. The current owner had planned to sell the home to the highest bidder in an auction next month. The Pope's parents bought the brick house brand new back in 1949. A young girl is among 3 people recovering following a crash on the south side. Police say a Honda SUV collided with a Nissan sedan yesterday in the 8400 block of South Kidsey Avenue. The collision caused the SUV to hit a building. Both drivers and a 5-year-old girl in the building were hospitalized in good condition. Citations are pending. Detectives are investigating. The city of Chicago will host a public ceremony honoring Purple Heart veterans and recognizing the city's official designation as a Purple Heart city. The event will be held this morning at 9. It will include the installation of 2 Purple Heart City signs, one at City Hall and one at the historic site at Old Fort Dearborn at Michigan Avenue and Wacker Drive. The Illinois Department of Natural Resources and the Illinois Conservation Police are urging people to be safe while boating over the Memorial Day weekend. Boaters should wear life jackets anytime they're on the water and only operate boats while sober. Last year, there were 64 reportable boating accidents on Illinois waters, resulting in 15 deaths and 32 injuries. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Target sales slumped in its recent quarter. Both earnings and revenue were disappointing. It's lowering expectations for the year. CEO Brian Cornell says a series of factors cut into its sales: tariff uncertainty, lower consumer sentiment, weak demand for discretionary items, and the boycotts after the company rolled back its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. It's not all disappointing. There was a 36% increase and same-day delivery through its Target Circle 360 service, and shrink. Losses to shoplifting declined in the quarter. It's a different story at Lowe's. Earnings topped expectations, though sales declined. Lowe's was expected to see sales slip because of severe weather in recent months. It's being helped by demand from home improvement professionals. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Hugh Hewitt sees a tight bond.
I think Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu are on the same team 100% of the time. And those who are looking, they didn't consult on the Houthi deal. We actually don't know that. Somehow there's daylight. I don't see it. I don't believe it. They want to find reasons to be alarmed. There isn't any reason to be alarmed.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer. It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 golf outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Air Ride Heating and Cooling, Goldilocks, Doors, Locks, and Security, and by Fox Valley Coins.
Are you planning to remodel your kitchen, bathroom, basement, or whole home? Explore why homeowners call Forever Remodeling the remodeling machine. With over 2,000 completed projects, our expert designers, project managers, and installers work together like clockwork, delivering stunning results on time and on budget. From creative design to detailed installation, we build beautiful, functional spaces without the stress. Call Forever Remodeling today at 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com to schedule your free in-home design consultation.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-973-9819. And you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9819. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9819 now to secure your $10 gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-973-9819.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 20 minutes, 31 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, 55 minutes outbound, about 49 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, exit ramp still closed due to a jackknife semi in the ditch. That's going to be on the off-ramp northbound to Mannheim Road. And on the outbound side, it's about 36 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 47 minutes. Outbound, about 38 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy rain and drizzle today, the high 53. Some off and on rain and drizzle tonight, low 47. Passing shower for tomorrow morning, otherwise a cloudy day, high 57. And then clouds and cool on Friday, the high Friday at 61. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The big, beautiful bill. Trump descended on the Hill yesterday to help Mike Johnson whip the vote, frankly, and had choice words for stalwart holdouts like, say, Libertarian Congressman Tom Massey from Kentucky, who Trump finds disruptive. Look, nobody is more of a fiscal hawk than Trump, and everybody needs to move this along.
What are you planning to tell the fiscal hawks who want to delay this? What are you planning to tell the fiscal hawks who want to delay this?
I'm a fiscal hawk.
They don't think this cuts enough spending.
I'm a bigger fiscal hawk. There's nobody like me as a fiscal hawk.
Massey said that has more deficit than Biden did, and this bill kind of...
Because we have to fix the country.
Do you think that Thomas Massey is correct in saying that this is adding Biden?
No, I don't think Thomas Massey understands government. I think he's a grandstander, frankly. He'll probably vote. We don't even talk to him much. I think he should be voted out of office. And I just don't think he understands government. If you ask him a couple of questions, he never gives you an answer. He just says, I'm a no. He thinks he's going to get publicity. And you have that. You have that. They've got some, too.
Well, yeah, I don't know if Thomas Massey needs to be de-elected or if he doesn't understand government, but he certainly isn't playing ball the way that Trump wants congressional Republicans to play, although arguably neither are those blue state Republicans who've been holding up the process and sticking up Mike Johnson for an exponential increase in the SALT deduction so that we're, as we discussed earlier in the program with Jim Urio, so that we have the rest of the country financing the profligate tax and spend policies of socialists in states like New York and Illinois and California. That's no good either. So should they be de-elected? Tom Lawler and company? Scott McKay is the publisher of The Hayride, senior editor of The American Spectator, and author of Racism, Revenge, and Ruin, as well as the novel King of the Jungle. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, there are narrow interests that are competing within the caucuses in both chambers, particularly the House right now. Frankly, for me, like the focus on holdouts who say no, like a Tom Massey or a Chip Roy, is the wrong focus. Is the focus on people who don't want to figure out a way to make a paradigm shift in the size and expense of government, like those weak-kneed blue state Republicans, are much more problematic. What say you?
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I would make an overarching statement and say this is why when you have 220 out of 435, it's almost impossible to get anything done. Because at 240, you go to the Lawlers and the rest of these guys and you say, look, you don't want to vote for this? Don't vote for it. I don't need your vote. You can virtue signal back, in your district. I'll need your vote on something else, and I better have it then. You have no ability to do that when you're at 220. You have to have everybody's vote every time. And this is how Johnson's going to get. He's going to get jacked up by the Freedom Caucus, and he's going to get jacked up by the Rhinos.
Right.
And it's like, you have to thread a needle with every single piece of legislation. And one of the biggest criticisms has been, Congress doesn't do anything. Like, there's the fewest number of bills they passed. And it's like, yeah, they want to do this one time because you would be in a situation trying to balance this with every single bill that you were trying to pass. If it had any money in it, if it had any kind of complexity to the legislation that you're working on, you can't get everybody to agree on stuff unless it's like the, very basic cultural type things that, you can get everybody to agree on. And what's unprecedented about all this is that there are absolutely no people on the other side of the aisle that you can bring over.
Right.
That's never been the case.
Except on eliminating taxes on tips.
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody knows that's political suicide to vote against that. But 30, 40 years ago, Democrats, you had Southern Democrats, and a Republican like Ronald Reagan could get Southern Democrats to vote for all kinds of stuff. You don't have that anymore. That's done. And so everything is a party line vote. And to get it to the point where it's a party line vote, you have to please both Chip Roy and the Mike Lawlers of the world. And that is hard to do. So, you really have to calm your expectations down of Congress when it's this, tight a margin. And the good news is everybody hates the Democrats, but the bad news is the congressional map as currently drawn makes it super hard to get above 228, 230 if you're the Republicans. I don't even think you can get that high if you're the Democrats. There just aren't any swing districts left. And so, what we need is massive reform to, I'm going to say the electoral system, but by that I mean you need to change the census so that when they apportion congressional districts, it's done on the basis of citizenship, and stop counting people who are non-citizens for the purpose of congressional apportionment. You need voter ID nationally. You need all these other kinds of things that change the game so it's possible for the Republicans to get to 240 or 245 so that you can get 90% of your caucus behind something and still win the vote.
Well, Scott McKay, what does the Freedom Caucus want out of the bill?
My sense is they just want to get as much as they can on spending cuts before they go for it. I don't think the Freedom Caucus, Massey is an outlier even within that. But I think the Freedom Caucus wants to make as many cuts as they can, bank them and then try to leverage the next fight. I don't know that this is going to happen, but the obvious thing, if I'm Mike Johnson, is I work with them on a rescission bill as soon as this one is done, which is to say we're going to try to ratchet down whatever we can get 218 votes for in the House and hopefully pass it through the Senate. And then right after that, we're going to do a bill that cuts everything else we can agree on from there. Because the interesting thing about a rescission bill, and they haven't done one in forever, is that you can't filibuster a rescission bill. It counts the same as a budget reconciliation thing. So, get your cuts in the next bill. Of course, then now you're in a real problem because the rhinos probably aren't going to want to cut anything in a rescission.
Right. Here's my general criticism of this. I understand the political reality of this, like you described fairly. But I wish somebody, and the president is the person most perfectly situated to do this for obvious reasons, would say, look, Tom Massey's right that this bill in its current form will increase the national debt by $20 trillion over 10 years. And that's the best we can do right now because you have exactly what you said. You have no interest by a single member of the new Marxist Party in either chamber.
Yep.
And you have no interest by enough Republicans in the House and some big spenders in the Senate, too, that this is the best we can do. This is the Congress you elected, America. So if at some point you want to be serious with respect to action as you are sort of with rhetorical positioning when you get some survey during the campaign to reduce the size and scope of government to bring down the debt and the cost of the $36 trillion in debt that we're already financing. If at some point you want to get serious about that, then you have to do something. And you have to send more members of Congress, more people that fit a certain profile. Pick out your favorite sort of serious actual fiscal hawk in the House and the Senate, or just pick out the leaders. Yeah, if you give Mike Johnson more Freedom Caucus types, if you give John Thune more Mike Lee types, then you can do something. But if you don't want to do that in your district or your state, then this is the best we can do, is we can slow down the inevitable decline of this country and put it back on the people.
Well, I'm totally up for that. I think that would absolutely be the right message. But what I would add to that is, if I'm Trump, I'm going to say, and look, they're going to call me a dictator for this, and I'm sure I'm going to be in court over it, but I'm impounding every dime I can out of this budget, right? And to say, look, they passed some bill in the middle of Watergate that stops the president from being able to do a proper impounding of excess funds that Congress appropriates. I don't think that bill's constitutional, which there's a whole bunch of stuff that's been written about the Presidential Impoundment Act, and, Ross Vogt and all these guys say that it's unconstitutional. I would bring that to the American people and say, look, I'm going to impound $500 billion of spending out of this, and I'm going to bend the baseline down as a result of that. And if anybody wants to take me to court over it, get in line, because we're already there. But I'm going for broke, and you can call me whatever you want, but with this kind of deficit and this kind of debt, something has to be done. Can't get enough votes in the House or Senate to make it happen. So I'm going to do it, and I would love to turn this back over to Congress, but you have to elect the right people. If you add that to what you just said, and I think you have a winner.
And there's nothing wrong with accentuating the positive, because there's a lot of positive in this, with both the tax relief and some spending cuts, and you can provide the contextualization of, this is sort of the initial iteration of DOGE, and we're going to continue this work with Russ Vogt taking point for Elon and so forth. It's not stopping. But this is the best we can do now with what you've given me, and what you said about impoundment, I completely agree with. And then you roll it forward. But you roll it forward sort of providing an expansive explanation, warts and all, of what is being done, why it's being done, and why what's being done is limited in your own mind in terms of what you would really like.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And it's on brand with Trump, too, right? Trump is not an ideologue. He's a deal maker.
Right.
And, a deal maker is going to take the best deal he can get. And, this might be it is the best deal he can get, because this is the legislation has reached this point because it's got the best chance of getting the 220 votes. And, this is the reason, if you think Johnson's not, look, and Mike Johnson's a friend of mine, so I'm going to defend him on this. There's a reason you can't get anybody better than Mike Johnson to be speaker, is because nobody wants this job, right? It's impossible. It's an impossible mission to try to get, when you have that low a margin and get zero help from the other side of the aisle, and you have to get all but two to agree on I don't know what it is, a 1,000-page bill or something like this. And you have to get to 218 with that. Good luck. Nobody wants that job. It's a hell of a lot easier to be Chip Roy than it is to be Mike Johnson. And even Chip Roy will tell you that.
Yeah, true. No question. There's no question about that.
So, and that's where we are. And Trump goes to the Hill. And, Trump, he's like, well, I'm going to go to the Hill and I'm going to fix this. And he comes away from the Hill saying, well, I think I made some progress, but it ain't fixed yet. And the real question is, what's an easier lift? Stopping Russia and Ukraine from killing each other, or getting this bill past the House? And, you pay your money and you take your choice, right? So, it's just a really hard thing. And this is the reason why everybody's complaining that Congress isn't doing its job. It's because, you have a stalemate in Congress. And usually speaking, when it's this tight, you can't expect them to pass anything because you can't get consensus on anything.
I wanted to get your take on Jake Tapper now that his most important book is out, and whether or not he has been sufficiently contrite to re-enter the Scott McKay friend circle.
Well, I haven't read the book. My question about it is whether it's an autobiography, seeing as though Jake Tapper was one of the principals in practicing the cover-up of Joe Biden's mental condition over the past 4 years, right? Like, I mean, there's so much video of Jake Tapper defending Biden's sentience that all of a sudden he's now going to, expose the cover-up that he was involved in. And it's like, well, okay. I mean, there may be some nuggets of cool information in this, but I can't really recommend that anybody spends their money to give Jake Tapper royalties from this book based on the fact that he's telling you what he wouldn't tell you when it mattered. And so, and of course the new thing, and I have this piece of the American Spectator that, got a ton of traffic yesterday about, the lies of the corporate Joe Biden, which is a little different from the actual Joe Biden. The actual Joe Biden is now a sympathetic figure, which is strange because the actual Joe Biden is one of the biggest scumbags in American politics over the last half century. But he's a doddering old man who barely knows where he is. And so, apparently he now has prostate cancer that, was unscreened for and unnoticed for like the entirety of his presidency. And we're supposed to have sympathy because, or at least the corporate Joe Biden wants us to have sympathy for the actual Joe Biden over something that they clearly lied about over the past 5 to 7 years, while they were lying about his mental capacity. And the whole thing is like such a mess that it's impossible to have any sympathy for either the actual or corporate Joe Biden at this point.
Scott McKay, publisher of The Hayride, senior editor at The American Spectator, author of the book Racism, Revenge, and Ruin, as well as the novel King of the Jungle. Scott, thanks as always.
Thanks, Dan. See you guys soon.
Thank you. Take care. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, folks. I just can't help thinking of our stress levels. And high blood pressure is the #1 key risk factor for mortality. In fact, 1 in 2 Americans walking around have high blood pressure. That's a ticking time bomb. But thankfully, it's never been easier to take control of your blood pressure. With 120 Life, a truly remarkable natural juice blend that can actually help you lower your blood pressure without the side effects of taking pills every day. 120 Life is formulated with scientifically backed ingredients from superfruits, berries, and minerals that have been shown to naturally help control high blood pressure. And it works. It's endorsed by 600 health professionals. And I assure you, that's not fake news. I use it myself. I love it. You can try it for yourself risk-free with their 2-week trial. Just go to 120 Life and use the coupon code LIBERTY to save 15% and receive free shipping. If 120 Life doesn't help lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they give you your money back. It's guaranteed. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Go to 120life.com today.
Reliability isn't optional when business security is on the line. It's essential. Businesses trust alarm detection systems for the highest level of service and expertise. Think about the time you could save using one source for cameras, keycard access, fire and intrusion systems. ADS offers expert alarm installation and testing by highly trained technicians, 24/7 professional monitoring, same-day or next-day service upon request because downtime isn't an option, dedicated teams for cameras, access control, and fire alarms. More than 300 security professionals working for you. Choosing ADS means your business stays protected and will be ready to open tomorrow. They combine human monitoring with the latest AI camera technology to prevent crime in real time. Trusted by small and large businesses, including many Chicagoland schools. Their security experts will review your system for free. Go to adsalarm.com and schedule today. That website again is adsalarm.com. Alarm detection systems, the first choice of Chicagoland businesses, including right here, AM 560 The Answer, and Salem Media Chicago. Alarm detection systems, adsalarm.com. Alarm license 127000143.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Well, as you know, crime in Illinois is out of control, especially violent crime. And it isn't just Chicago. Armed break-ins and home invasions are moving all through the suburbs. Criminals are looking for easy targets. They're getting more coordinated and bolder, even entering homes with families inside. They watch what you do first, see your routine, and when they decide to make their move, there's no warning. I know criminals are looking for unsecured homes, and that's why I chose Goldilocks Security for my home security. Goldilocks state-of-the-art smart home security system doesn't just record crime, it prevents it. With Goldilocks real-time monitoring, the police are notified immediately, and every second counts if someone breaks into your home. Would you have time to react? Goldilocks has given me and my family much-needed peace of mind. They also offer commercial security systems for any size business. Goldilocks has hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and has served Chicagoland since 1981. It's a company you can rely on, family-owned and operated, like-minded people. So tell them Amy Jacobson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months of monitoring for free with any new install. Call them today, 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Again, 708-889-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, we would be remiss if we didn't remember the great George Wendt.
Afternoon, everybody. Hey, what's happening, Norm? It's a dog-eat-dog world, Sammy, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear.
That may be my favorite. That may be my all-time favorite. I mean, there are so many good ones.
What's going down, Mr. Peterson? My cheeks on this bar stool.
Of course, a lot of Chicago connection, Second City.
Yeah, well, I mean, and he's a super fan, Super Bears on Saturday Night Live. Well, come on, I know the 85 Bears haven't gotten their
Second City cheers, I would say.
Right, but
brother-in-law to Joe Burkett.
Oh, really?
Former DuPage County State's Attorney. Yeah, Judge Burkett.
So
now.
Bernadette says, okay, got
it.
Leaves behind a wife and 3 kids. He died in his sleep at 76 years old. And last time I saw him, well, I was in a foursome, but I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to talk about it. But he's I played
You were in a
golf with him
foursome
few
that you don't
times.
want to talk about?
Well, I was in a foursome with Mongo, him, and Lynn Bramer.
The 4 of you, so you're the last one standing?
Yeah.
Boy. I'll tell you what. Don't
Was
stand
this golf?
Don't stand next to Amy in a thunderstorm. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay, everything, rest in peace. He was a very nice man, very approachable.
That's what I've never had the honor of
Yeah.
meeting him, but
you did it?
That's what I understand to be the case. And I mean, it's just it's an honor to be an important member of, well, arguably the best sitcom ever.
Oh, true.
Part of a significant part of the cast of the best sitcom ever. And of course, I saw tributes from Ratzenberger and Danson and Rhea Perlman and stuff. Obviously, they had great fondness for him because he sort of was what you saw. That's the understanding that I get from people who know. If you've got any normisms or remembrances or want to challenge my characterization as Cheers is the all-time best sitcom, I don't think that's really very arguable, but you can make the arguments. And then at 8:38, we also have to get to our latest installment of Campus Beat and the boom towns like Macomb, Illinois that are going bust. 8:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here are the headlines.
Good morning. It's 53 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Moody's is downgrading the long-term ratings for JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo. Monday's announcement came after the ratings agency also downgraded the U.S. government over its growing $36 trillion debt. The downgrade indicates the agency thinks the country is less able to support the obligations of these banks. President Trump will meet with the president of South Africa at the White House today.
Since coming into office in January, Donald Trump and his South African backer Elon Musk have alleged that white South African farmers are victims of a genocide and that the state is seizing their land. The Trump administration has also been angered by South Africa bringing a genocide case against Israel to the International Court of Justice. The US has expelled the South African ambassador and ended all aid to the country. Some advisers fear that President Ramaphosa risks a Volodymyr Zelensky-style dressing down in the Oval Office. But Mr. Ramaphosa, a seasoned political negotiator, says the meeting will give him a chance to set the record straight and show that the two golf-playing tycoons have more in common than is thought. Kate Fisher, Washington.
News is a service of Low T Center. Guys, are you and your spouse looking to lose weight in time for summer? Head over to any Synergex or Low T Center for prescription weight loss treatment options, including semaglutide. If you qualify for treatment, you could get a free B12 shot when you start. Offer limited. Book now at fixmylowt.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
8 years. It has been 8 years since QC Kinetics has been the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and this is remarkable. Using regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in your achy joints. These are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. Listen, it's a powerful and potent way to give your joints the new life and repairing old tissue. Best part, there's no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain. Here's what I want you to do. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
From the Team Hawkesburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 21 minutes. Outbound, 29 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 46 minutes. Outbound, 31 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 42 minutes. Outbound, 30 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 42 minutes. Outbound, it's going to be about 27 minutes. On the Dan Moran, inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 32 minutes. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Don't postpone better sleep. Shop Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale now. Upgrade to a premium bed from a curated selection and take your rest to the next level. Don't miss out. Visit Mattress Firm today. Get matched. Sleep at night. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Breezy, cool day, some rain and drizzle. High today 53. Off and on rain and drizzle for tonight, low 47. Passing shower tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy, high 57. And then clouds remaining cool on Friday, high Friday at 61. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Cause they got the beat, the campus beat, the campus beat. Yeah, the campus beat.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. College boomtowns go bust as enrollments declines, batter local economies. This is a piece in the Wall Street Journal that we've sort of referenced this week, but we haven't really delved into. Let's delve into it now, in part because Western Illinois, in Macomb, Illinois, that is featured prominently.
Oh, yeah.
At Western Illinois, an empty dorm that once held 800 students is now a police training ground where active shooter drills have left behind overturned furniture, rubber-tipped bullets, and paintball casings. Nearby dorms have been razed to weedy fields. 2 more dorms are set to close this summer. Frat houses and homes, once filled with student renters, are empty lots. City streets used to be so crowded during the semester that cars moved at a crawl. No more. Well, that's because Kevin Duckworth's not there anymore. Macomb is at the heart of a new Rust Belt. Across the U.S., colleges are faltering, and so are the once booming towns around them. Enrollment is down at many of the nation's public colleges and universities, widening the gap between high-profile campuses like U of I'm adding parenthetically, and struggling campuses like Eastern and Western and Northern.
Northern, yeah.
The fallout extends to the downtown Macomb. Sullivan Taylor Coffee House, located in the corner of a stately 130-year-old building not far from campus, sits mostly empty during the semester. Owner Brandon Thompson has cashed out retirement savings, hit the limits of his credit cards, even canceled his home internet to keep the doors open. We're down to bare bones, said Thompson, who is thinking about filing for bankruptcy. So what happened to Western Illinois and similarly situated schools, do you think?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line.
It's not a single variable. It's multiple. The number of students graduating from American high schools is expected to start falling next spring after reaching a record this year. It has been falling every year since 2007, I should say. That's part of it. Prominent state universities have seen their enrollment bump up 9% from 2015 to 2023, while lesser-known regional state universities, the enrollment fell 2%. So that's a shift that represents tens of thousands of students who've abandoned struggling college towns.
Enrollment at Illinois Urbana-Champaign up 36% from 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And last fall, they faced a shortage of space, so they had to double up in student dorms.
So one of the things that's going on is a flight to quality. The more prestigious universities, status-wise, not necessarily substance, but this is a status business significantly. They're benefiting, maybe fewer going to college, particularly fewer young men. A flight to quality because the Western Illinois degree doesn't bring you into the same social strata, the same opportunities for relationship building that a degree from, perception-wise, a more prestigious school does. So if I'm going to go to leverage it to get into those elite business circles in whatever field I'm choosing. That's part of it, no question. Something else, though, what's going on locally. We mentioned this in a conversation with Ted Dabrowski on Tuesday. We mentioned it because of his research on it. The worst performing metropolitan area in the country, 384 urban designations. Of the 384 urban designations, Bloomington, Illinois is the worst urban, had the worst urban growth between, 2018 to 2023. Minus 17%. So these mid-sized urban centers that have been decaying for a long time, you have in Bloomington, you have State Farm divesting.
Right.
The same way you had manufacturing decline in Rockford. The same way you have John Deere divesting out of Peoria. The same way you had Galesburg divest and Maytag. Maytag divest out of Galesburg and
devastated that town.
So on and so forth. Yes. So it's a confluence of things. In Macomb, the city's population fell 23% from 2010 to 2024, and the enrollment 47%.
Yeah, since 2010.
Yeah, it's been cut in half.
5,500 students. And the article just says cracks and holes in the campus walkways are so deep they have makeshift barriers. On a recent spring day, the quad in the middle of campus drew only a handful of students. I mean, that's where, everyone would meet, especially if it was warm out and a nice spring day. Everyone would go to the quad.
And so this is so telling, too. What's Illinois' response to this? And Western Illinois' response, by extension?
We need more federal funding.
State
funding.
From the Wall Street Journal piece, one bright spot on campus is the $100 million plus performing arts center being built with state funds for an infrastructure project. Throw some pork at them.
Oh, that's not going to solve the problem.
Oh, you don't think? Who's going to go to the $100 million performing arts center as the enrollment continues to hemorrhage?
And they're building a big sports complex building, too, because they're thinking, they can get tournaments there. There's not enough volleyball games in the year to have that.
There's also this, politics.
Basketball, yeah.
Our friend, Professor William Jacobson over at Legal Insurrection, he runs that Equal Protection Project. From last year, 16 discriminatory scholarships at Western Illinois University challenged by the Equal Protection Project. Oh, they want to do the race hustle. They want to do the racial spoil system. That's the response. The way that we'll get students is we'll give scholarships to students based on race, which is illegal, and or students that are otherwise unqualified and, I guess, to some extent unfinanceable, thus the scholarship money to woo them to Macomb. And by the way, as they have done that, some of these regional schools, I know the situation in Northern and Eastern and Western, particularly Northern.
Eastern is bad.
Yeah, so is Northern.
Oof.
You bring people onto campus who are not going to be, responsible in context, responsible college students. I'm talking about people that are violent.
Yeah.
Or unready for post-secondary coursework because they never mastered pre-secondary coursework. Not just coming out of Chicago, but definitely including coming out of Chicago. Well, that's a recipe for problems on campus, and anybody who knows anything about Northern Illinois knows there have been security and related problems on campus.
My friend's daughter goes to Western Illinois, and she doesn't feel safe on the weekend. She says people come from Chicago and get in fight. There's gang banging going on, and then on Sunday they leave. Not safe to stay around on the weekends.
John in Palm Beach, Florida.
Hey, Dan and Amy, good morning. I read Dabrowski's article right before I read the Western Illinois article in the Wall Street Journal, and I was surprised to see Champaign's the second fastest growing county in Illinois, and Bloomington, or the second, or McLean County, the slowest growing county in the United States. And I'm going, well, what's upside down about that? Well, the U of I is in Champaign, and they're getting.
John?
John, are
we
you there?
lose John? We lost you after U of I. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, well, the U of I is getting funded by the state and local and federal government all the time. They're number 2 in Drabowski's measure that was in a wire post yesterday. And the last one, of course, is Bloomington, which has ISU, and nobody's spending money on those places anymore, and that's okay. I mean, they get, the state legislators does such a rotten job in this state. You shouldn't even have a Western and Eastern Illinois anymore.
Yeah, well, you might not after too long. Thanks for the call, John.
They're tearing down 2 dorms.
Yeah, but just, I mean, the rankings nationally, there are 384 metro areas, designated metro areas as units of economic analysis. Illinois has a dozen. Bloomington is 384 out of 384. Rockford is 367 out of 384. Danville is 312 out of 384. Peoria is 309 out of 384. Well, that's none of those are good. Carbondale, Marion is 296 out of 384. Springfield, 287 out of 384. Is anybody in the top 50%? Not yet. Chicago, Naperville, Elgin, 268 out of 384. Decatur, finally we break in. Decatur, 165 out of 384. Champaign-Urbana, still only 163 out of 384. Kankakee, of all places, 91 out of 384. Just in terms of change in real gross domestic product in between the years 2019 and 2023. Adjusted for inflation. That is not good. Those numbers do not suggest a boom state, do they? Jack, Northwest Indiana.
Good morning, guys. So this has been happening for decades. I graduated from college in the mid-'80s, and even then, U of I was the one place, if you're going to stay in-state, that you went to. Otherwise, you went to the surrounding schools, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio State, Wisconsin. If you went to Western or Eastern, I mean, no disrespect intended, but those were like way off the radar if you were a serious student. You went there because you had like an ACT of 16. That's the reality.
Yes.
And that's just
true.
I mean, if I...
Or you wanted to play quarterback and
my sister went to Eastern. She went for the education
and Tony Romo, was being recruited by D1. Yeah, right.
For decades, where I was employed, we brought in students, and I can guarantee you they were all Big Ten. If you saw a resume from Western, Eastern, Chicago State, it literally went right out the window because you had no time for that because you just weren't going to get the quality that you thought. There's always an exception. There just is. But if you go to Western, the reality is those schools shouldn't belong because all of the quality students either stay in, go private, stay in state at Illinois, go private, or they will go to the surrounding states or, even UCLA, the West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, but they're not going to go to Western, Eastern. There's no purpose for it other than to fill the coffers and professors that have no business being professors. That's just, it's going to end because, as you said, enrollment's going down. Why would you go there?
Thanks for the call. Yeah, I mean, you can be a good student at one of these schools, but you're an outlier. I mean, the data is pretty overwhelming. Forget even looking at the test scores, looking at the percentage of incoming freshmen that have to do remediation, that have to take remedial courses to get to college-level courses. And these schools are basically open enrollment schools at this point. Roger in DeKalb.
Yeah, hey, so Northern Illinois out here in DeKalb, it never gets the press. I'm telling you, the grift and corruption out here is unbelievable. In 2010, Northern borrowed $220 million from the state. They were supposed to have 30,000 students by 2025 to repay that loan based on student fees. Northern right now stands at a little over 14,000. Of course, 2 years ago, they refinanced that loan and made it a 75-year loan. Now they're going to tear down dorms that are empty, and they're going to build a new $80 million health and services building. And there's nobody here. This town is empty. It is unbelievable. And it started with a really rotten president. It started long before that. But why it never got press out here, but all the stuff was going down at the time of the College of DuPage. But the grift out here was 10 times worse than that, but that got all the press. So it just went under the radar out here. So
that's it.
It's just amazing.
Thanks for the call, Roger. And I mean, this is nothing against these schools. My parents went to NIU.
Yeah, both of them.
But
my sister went to Eastern.
A little bit different when they went there.
It was different when my sister went there. It was packed. Streets were crowded.
Yeah. Well, they're not company. This is the company town story.
Yeah.
Just like you're talking about Maytag in Galesburg, or Deer in East Moline, or Cat in Peoria. Well, they start pulling up stakes, whether it's their choice in a corporate setting or it's because people will not come there anymore in a college setting. Obviously, it has ripple effects. I'm not cheerleading the demise. We're just describing it and the variables that go into this outcome that you're seeing. Now you can, just sort of curse it and have the state come in and try and bail it out with, $100 million for performing arts centers and workout facilities, but you're not going to stop it. You're not getting to the crux of the issue. John in Bridgeport.
Guys, it comes back to supply and demand. I mean, the demand isn't there for kids to go to these schools, so shut them down. Pull a Rahm Emanuel on them. Just get them out of here. But the interesting take is up in Wisconsin, those smaller schools that are left are tired of Madison dictating to the rest of the state how schools should be done. So what Menards, the Menards home store did was they built over by LeClaire, and they have a big say around LeClaire, Wisconsin, the University of Wisconsin, LeClaire, and that school's thriving right now pretty good. So I think if you want to invigorate these schools, you're going to have to bring a big company, whether it's an AI company, whether it's a Bitcoin company, and that can maybe salvage some of these schools. But I'm curious to see about a Bradley, St. Ambrose. If those schools have low enrollment, then they shut down. Why are we keeping these government schools around? That's all.
Thanks, John. Well, the other thing is you get into the business of empire building and you lose focus on the mission. I mean, one of the things that some of these schools should do, particularly state schools, is recommit to Western civilization, like we were talking about is happening at the University of Texas and the University of North Carolina. I mean, those are big schools, big state schools that aren't going anywhere, but they're doing it anyway because they recognize not only a market opportunity, but in some sense, a market imperative. What are we seeing from these regional state schools? More doubling down on DEI? At some point, you have to add value for the student that's going there for 4 years, but maybe isn't planning on making their life in DeKalb or Macomb or Charleston, Illinois. And so it's going to take more than a nice performing arts center or workout facility. It's going to take an understanding that I'm going to come out of here with the skills I need, be well equipped for success. That needs to be part of the value proposition, not that it's going to be a 4-year vacation in Macomb. You're not going to sell that.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist, and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day, and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck, and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Healthcare is complicated. It doesn't have to be. If you don't love how your health insurance works, maybe it's time to leave traditional health insurance behind. Take charge of your healthcare with Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM offers you flexibility. Enroll anytime, choose your own provider, and select the program that fits your needs and budget. CHM is the original faith-based way of taking care of your medical bill costs. Learn more at chministries.org/wellness.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
Still pouring, Norm? That's funny. I was about to ask you the same thing. What do you say, Norm? Well, I never met a beer I didn't drink. And out it goes, huh?
Norm Peterson, George Wendt had a great run, and it was a great time enjoying his work on the best sitcom in television history.
Yep. Nobody called in to dispute it, Dan.
There you go.
All right, our thanks to George Hoffman and to Keith Conrad, who's filling in today for Quinn McCarthy. Weather today, it's going to be breezy and cool. And guess what? Rain and drizzle throughout the day. Yay. High of 55 degrees. And then tomorrow, a passing shower in the morning. Otherwise, maybe cloudy. Cool, a high of 57. It's 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
They're in mourning on Capitol Hill again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Congressman Jerry Connolly has died. Fox's Ryan Schmelz is at the Capitol.
The family of Jerry Connolly says the congressman died peacefully in his home, surrounded by family at the age of 75. Connolly revealed he was battling esophageal cancer back in November. He was the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee and represented the Commonwealth of Virginia's 11th congressional district since 2009. Connolly is the third House Democrat to pass away this year.
So that gives Republicans a 220 to 212 majority in the House. The GOP could only afford to have 3 members vote no on the massive budget plan the Rules Committee has been working on since 1 o'clock this morning before a full House vote tonight or tomorrow. The day after President Trump went to the Capitol, urging Republicans to unite and pass what he calls one big beautiful bill to fund his agenda and extend 2017 tax cuts. Congressman Morgan Griffith tells Fox.
I think he did change a few votes, but not all of them. And so we're still working, the Speaker is still working behind the scenes to get all the votes lined up. And it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. You have to keep twisting things around, and eventually we can get there.
Next hour, President Trump will host South Africa's president at the White House, where Fox's Peter Ducey reports things could get tense after the U.S. cut aid to South Africa, expelled its ambassador, all over a controversial law there.
That lets the South African government confiscate private land from landowners without compensating them. And that has got Trump officials really steamed. That law is at the heart of the Trump plan to accept white South Africans, inclulling 59 of them who landed at Dulles last week.
5 escaped prisoners still on the run in Louisiana. Governor Jeff Landry tells Fox.
We find anyone who aids and abets them, they're going to jail, whether they were inside the jail and working to let them out, or they're continuing to aid and abet them and keep them from our fugitive apprehension team from picking them up.
10 prisoners escaped last Friday. A 5th one was captured last night. America's listening to Fox News.
Your official weather forecast.
Cloudy, occasional rain this afternoon. High 55. Cloudy with some showers tonight. Low 47. A shower to start Thursday. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with a high 57. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
I don't think our friendship's ever been stronger than it is right now.
As President Trump seeks to reshape the global political landscape.
It's your biggest investment that you've ever made.
His opponents can't stop themselves.
The President of the United States is out of the country, and you pull a stunt like this?
James Comey making a threatening post against Donald Trump.
His words, a cool shell formation in the shape of 8647.
This guy needs to be prosecuted.
Talk about what it all means.
This has got to stop.
Right here on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert during this window replacement season. Don't get tricked by the cheapest offers and gimmicky ads. Now's the time to see and feel the difference of high-performance windows from Valdecast.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdecast. Valdecast has been the trusted name chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your number one choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdecast? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason.